Chapter 241. The Eager Uchiha Fugaku. When Gongyi returned with a victory, the whole of Konoha was in the excitement of winning the war. Although a lot of manpower was lost in the initial stage of this battle, compared to the previous battles, the losses in this battle were too small. You must know that in the middle of the Third World War, Konoha and Iwagakure and Sunagakure village fought, before and after. At least 7,000 ninja troops were lost. This time, they also played against both countries, but the overall loss was not even 3,000. The reasons for this disparity can be imagined by anyone. Before that war was commanded by the three generations of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, and the divisional battlefield was also commanded by two apprentices of the three generations, Orochimaru and Jiraiya successively. But this time, it was Gongyi alone. Gap is here. Many people have realized that three generations are old. The future of Konoha, Namikaze Minato used to be, but now, it is Gongyi. The voice calling for Gongyi to be the top Hokage, since the ninja from the land of thunder left Konoha, getting bigger and bigger. Especially the commoner ninjas, they prefer the position of Hokage, which is held by a strong man from commoner background. Once the four generations of Hokage, Namikaze Minato, also, 3220, are civilians. It's just that the four generations' reign is too short, less than a year. Now, they want to promote Gongyi to the top. In addition to the voice of the commoner ninjas, several other Konoha clans also started to stand one after another. The first is the Hyuga clan. As the first Hyuga clan to fall to Gongyi's side, they are now more eager than anyone to become Gongyi Hokage. Because once Gongyi is in power, the benefits that the Hyuga family can get will be unimaginable. They are no longer simply wealthy families, but have the opportunity to go further to the center of power. Elders. The position of advisors. Important departments, such as the intelligence department, the mission dispatch department, and even have the opportunity to intervene in the security forces controlled by the Uchiha clan. In addition to the Hyuga family, other big and small families also intend to move. As the Ino-Shikacho clan, who were led by Gongyi, this time, they are completely on Gongyi's side. Ino-Shikacho itself needs to keep warm and stand firm. Previously, because Nara Shikaku served as a consultant teacher for four generations of Namikaze Minato, they were actually close to the center of power. However, with the death of the fourth generation, the third generation of Hokage came back to power and enabled the old man. Nara Shikaku was beaten back again, even causing the Ino-Shikacho three clans to go to a dangerous war. This time, if there is meritorious power from the dragon, the status of the Ino-Shikacho three clans will also be improved a lot. The most eager ones are these four major families. And these four major families also accounted for almost half of the power of the Konoha family, and the remaining four families were the Aburame, Inuzuka, Uchiha, and Sarutobi. Uchiha is independent of the outer, that is to say, there are only three tribes. Scale has begun to tilt. And the civilian ninja is the last straw that overwhelms the scale. At this time, Gongyi only needs to stand up, raise his arms, and reveal his intention to be Hokage. Then no one can stop him. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen has begun to accept his fate. As long as Gongyi stands up, he is willing to hand over the Hokage position. However, under this turbulent situation, Gongyi was unexpectedly silent. He backed away. One day, outside the palace, a middle-aged man walked in with a boy. Approached Gongyi's mansion, the middle-aged man instructed the young man a few words. Itachi, you have already graduated from the ninja school, and you are going to start performing your duties. Getting to know some of the strong men in the village will be very helpful to your future. The young man nodded sensible, and his eyes stayed in the deep room. Gongyi is the strongest being in the village, the middle-aged man said with a sigh of relief. Itachi frowned and looked at his father. Father, didn't you say that Uchiha's power is the strongest power in the world? Fugaku rubbed Itachi's head lovingly. Uchiha's power is indeed the strongest power, but with the strength of our generation, we still can't tap this power. Relatively speaking, Gong Yi has stood at the top of the world. To decide the direction of a war by one person is a level that our ancestor, Uchiha Madara, can achieve. Uchiha Madara. Itachi chewed these words thoughtfully. But then, he was curious again. Father, your generation can't do it. What about our generation? Shisui's talent is known as Uchiha's strongest, and he is better than Gong Yi, so what? Fugaku shook his head. I don't know, and I don't dare to try to know the answer. Itachi began to think about his father's words, but before he had time to think about the result, they had already stood in front of Gong Yi's mansion. The door opened slowly, and a man in a black robe stood at the door. Come in, the master already knows you're here. Fugaku said softly, excuse me. Itachi followed behind him and looked at the black-robed man, but when the man looked over, meeting a pair of clear eyes, Itachi bowed his head slightly. In this black-robed man, Itachi felt a powerful smell that can only be felt in his father. Master Gong Yi is indeed the strongest in his father's mouth. Even one of his subordinates has unfathomable strength. Two stepped into Gong Yi's mansion, and Gong Ling slowly closed the door behind him. As soon as he entered the courtyard, a young man in a white training suit looked over. There are blue lines on the boy's head. Just by looking at it, Uchiha Itachi knew that this is the Hyuga clan, and the family is separated. Heard that Lord Gong Yi took a son of the elder of the Hyuga branch as his apprentice. The man's name was Hyuga Neji. Come to think of it, it's this one. After doing the math, he seems to be only 1 year older than his younger brother. Fugaku, come in alone. In the courtyard, Gong Yi's long voice came. Fugaku froze for a moment, then nodded to Itachi, signaling him to stay here. Itachi gave a quiet hum, and his eyes fell curiously on Hyuga Neji. Neji, keep training, don't stop. Hyuga Neji puffed up and had to continue his training. Itachi watched quietly and found what this little brother was training, which was very interesting. It was a row of high and low stakes, on which were hanging many sandbags. Neji jumped on the stake, and headed to the other end. Just as he moved forward, those sandbags in the air kept smashing over. Neji dodged quickly, making sure he didn't get hit. Although it seems that Neji is very fast, for some reason, Itachi always feels that this young man seems to be carrying something on his back. Lead to body shape, become very bulky. Sandbag, and when he was halfway there, he was hit by the sandbag, which made him annoyed to go back to the beginning and start again. Is it really a unique training method? Itachi exclaimed in his heart. Half of the training objects, mostly trees or stones, are dead objects. But the enemy is alive. Use the swaying sandbags to simulate the enemy's attack. If you walk past it successfully, it is equivalent to avoiding many attacks. If the training is successful, the ninja's response to battle will be greatly improved. A long time, Uchiha Itachi glanced inside the room curiously. This training method must have been thought of by that adult. I don't know, what will he talk about with his father? ... In the living room, a scent of tea lingered on the nose. Gong Yi sniffs 1. 6, took a sip and looked at Uchiha Fugaku with a smile. I haven't seen you come to me for a long time, and even less have seen you so open and upright, even bringing your child to visit me. Fugaku smiled wryly. I didn't see you before, so I had a grudge. Didn't come to see you later, but there are too many things in the clan, and I can't find time. Then find me today. Fugaku took a deep breath and looked at Gong Yi very seriously. I want to know, when are you going to propose the remaining condition? In order to obtain Mangekyo's opening method, Gong Yi proposed three conditions. All the Kaden fire style ninjutsu of the Uchiha clan. 1 pair of 3 Tomo's Sharingan. And let Uchiha Fugaku do something for Gong Yi himself. Gongyi looked at Fugaku with a half-smile. Why are you in such a hurry? Is the patriarch of the dignified Uchiha clan so eager to do things for others? Fugaku shook his head and pursed his lips. It's not that I am in a hurry, it's that you are already so powerful. It's hard for me to imagine what else needs me to help you do it. Chapter 242. Suzano. Fugaku was in a hurry, and there was no way. He handed over Uchiha Chinfeng's 3-tomo Sharingan to Gongyi. He was a little worried. With Gongyi's strength back then, he was definitely at the level of shadow of a village. If Gongyi asked him to help, what would he do to deal with the shadows of other villages, and even said to let him use Mangekyo Sharingan to control the tailed beast, but at that time Gongyi just said that the time was not up. He had to hold back. But recently Gongyi's amazing record came back, and Fugaku couldn't sit still. Even the existence of the 8 tails, which took the world and the earth, was killed by Gongyi himself. He can't imagine that, with his own strength, he can help Gongyi to do something. Could it be that there is no possibility of destroying Konoha? At least Gongyi has never shown signs of betrayal of Konoha. Even the whole Konoha, all have a great chance of being owned by Gongyi. Facing the eager Fugaku, Gongyi put down the cup in his hand. Squinting slightly and looking at the other party, Gongyi suddenly said, "You came so rashly to the door, you can't just come to ask this question. Or, you have a good condition, let me accept it." Fugaku was startled. Gongyi's wisdom almost saw through his thoughts. Seeing Fugaku's expression, Gongyi shook his head and smiled. "Let me think about it. What conditions are you going to use to impress me?" "Oh, there is." Gongyi pointed to himself. "As the head of the Uchiha clan, you represent the entire Uchiha. If you come forward in person, recommend me as the 5th generation Hokage." Quote. "Don't you want to?" Being instantly told by someone, Fugaku asked back. In fact, this is exactly what he thought. In his opinion, Gongyi now occupies the right place in the right place, as long as Uchiha, who is independent from the outside, also falls to Gongyi. Then the position of Hokage is a certainty. It's just that people are unpredictable. He can't guess that Sarutobi Hiruzen has accepted his fate, and he doesn't need his help at all. He couldn't guess what Gongyi was thinking now. Gongyi laughed dumbly. "If I want to be in power, why do I need Uchiha's help? After so many years of hard work, no one in the village respects me." Fugaku was silent, his face darkened. He couldn't guess what Gongyi was thinking. What the young man wanted, he didn't even care about the position of Hokage. Then, what was his use value? Gongyi looked at him and sighed inexplicably. This sigh, Fugaku was also frightened, not knowing why he was sighing. Actually, Gongyi just sighed because of Fugaku. Is a genius who can open Mangekyo Sharingan. But because of the burden of the family, he became more and more temperless. What kind of reality flattened his edges and corners? Gongyi said lazily. "Actually, when I asked you to promise me such a condition, it was to let you help me deal with some powerful enemies at a critical moment. But my strength is progressing too fast, and now there is no enemy that can threaten me. I'm also a little unsure. I can let you do it for me." Ah! Fugaku opened his mouth wide and looked at Gongyi uncertainly. Is this a compliment of himself? Or, he said that he is useless? Gongyi turned his head slightly. "Actually, I've always been curious about what abilities you have gained after opening Mangekyo. You want to fulfill that condition at the cost of seeing my abilities and satisfying your curiosity." Fugaku thought, and if so, he wouldn't mind showing it. Gongyi laughed. "Isn't it a bit too cheap?" "Well, it's a little cheap." Fugaku nodded earnestly. Gongyi chuckled. "Being able to satisfy my curiosity is actually very precious." "Then you decide. Please." ... Boom. The dull sound of falling to the ground sounded. Uchiha Itachi looked at the child with a smile, and fell off the stake again. Neji glared at him, but didn't say anything, and jumped on the stake again hatefully. Itachi said loudly, When avoiding the sandbags, don't focus on the sandbags that hit, try to observe the shaking rhythm and direction of the sandbags in front of you. Hyuga Neji turned her head and blinked. He, who has always been smart, quickly understood the meaning of this big brother wearing the Uchiha family costume of the sandbag as compared to the attack of the enemy. Then he escaped once, even if he succeeded. But the enemy's attack is continuous and will not give him time to rest, just like more sandbags hit the road on the way of the stake. If you want to dodge more attacks, or even counterattack, what should be done, then, is not just to focus all of your attention on the current attack, but to observe, judge, the enemy's next attack direction. Only in this way can you take every attack calmly and even have the opportunity to counterattack. Neji's eyes lit up, and without turning on Byakugan, he stepped forward again. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps. This time, he stepped over the stakes at the same speed as before, but his attention was well distributed. It's like watching the enemy's movements while resisting the enemy's attack. Is it in the hand seal, or if the shoulder is shaking, what angle should I attack with taijutsu? A minute later, Hyuga Neji successfully crossed the long wooden stake. Looking back, those sandbags were still bumping around, but in normal times, he could rely on his reflexes, and it would not be bad if he passed half of it. And this 320 times, it came over with ease. This Uchiha tribe is really strong. Uchiha Itachi smiled slightly. This Hyuga Neji is very smart. He just mentioned it briefly, and he understood it instantly and used it successfully. In time, he will surely be a genius in the village. If you count the time, Sasuke is 1 year younger than him. After entering the school, he may be able to be a friend. Just when he thought of his brother tenderly, his expression suddenly changed. His eyes suddenly turned to the house behind. Not only that, but at the door of the house, a black-robed figure suddenly appeared and was about to rush in. Just when the black-robed figure was about to rush in, a clear voice came out. Gongling, step back. Yes, master. The black-robed figure left respectfully. Uchiha Itachi stood up cautiously and looked at the house. There, he smelled a very disturbing smell. Evil, weird, powerful, yet with a hint of amiability and friendliness. As if that was the ability of the Uchiha tribe, a natural hidden ability. Looking at the gray arm that occupies half of the room in front of him, Gong Yi's eyes glowed with brilliance, reached out and touched it. This is Susanoo. Chapter 243. Amaterasu. Seeing Gong Yi touch the gray Susanoo arm, Uchiha Fugaku frowned. But soon, he let go. Come on. Because of the burden of the family and the pressure of the village, it is not convenient for me to use Mangekyo's abilities. Many people look down on me. Today I will take this opportunity to show Gong Yi the power of Mangekyo Sharingan. Fugaku thought clearly. In his opinion, although Gong Yi knew about Mangekyo Sharingan's eye-opening method, he must have learned it from the Senju family's book collection inherited from Tsunade. Gong Yi himself doesn't know the power of Mangekyo. Now take this opportunity to let him feel a little bit. Maybe it will make Gong Yi pay more attention to the whole Uchiha. At least in this way, Master can take the initiative in getting along with Gong Yi. Instead of being so passive every time. Gong Yi touched one of Susanoo's fingers and his eyes lit up. High substantiation of chakra. Fugaku raised his eyebrows. Did he recognize it instantly? Dang. Knocked. Gong Yi pondered again. Moment, Gong Yi nodded and said, compared to the chakra-materialized body of the tailed beast, Susanoo is stronger. However, in terms of volume, it is less, which should be limited by the amount of chakra of the Susanoo caster. No, maybe it has something to do with Mangekyo Sharingan Master's pupil power. Fugaku's complexion changed slightly. With such a simple contact, Gong Yi guessed so many things. Hiss. A slight voice sounded, and a touch of golden light suddenly appeared in Gong Yi's hands. Don't mind me giving it a try. Gong Yi smiled and looked at Fugaku, his eyes eager to try. Fugaku turned slightly serious. Please, but let me remind you first. Released by Mangekyo has extremely hard defenses, and ordinary ninjutsu can't be effective at all. Oh, is it? Gong Yi pressed his hand down unhurriedly, and the golden light on his hand became more and more dazzling. A harsh rubbing sound sounded. Fugaku looked at this scene, and his face changed completely. How is that possible? Exclamation mark quote. 4 of Susanoo's fingers, cut off neatly, fell to the ground. In Fugaku's mouth, Susanoo, who was extremely tough and had outstanding defensive power, was cut off so easily by Gong Yi. Faced with this result, Gong Yi's expression seemed natural. It didn't seem surprising. In fact, Gong Yi was a little surprised in his heart. Susanoo's defense is really scary. He seemed to be effortless, but secretly kept adjusting the hand knife just now, so that the Jin-dun chakra covering the edge of the palm transformed its characteristics, and with the sharpest edge, it seemed to be easily cut open. Moreover, in Gong Yi's view, Fugaku is now the master Susanoo. It should only be the initial form. After this, there is the first form of the upper half of the derived skeleton. The second form full of flesh and blood meridians. The third form of wearing armor. If you say the first 3 forms, there are weaknesses in the step area. Then the fourth form, derived from the lower body and double, is said to have no shortcomings. This form can also be blessed on the tailed beast to form the so-called prestigious Susanoo. And this is not only the limit that Susanoo can achieve. In addition to the 4 forms, there is also the complete body of the master of Uchiha Madara Susanoo. Just thinking about it, Gong Yi trembled. Not fear, but excitement. Sure enough, my opponent is in the future. Now I seem to be invincible in the ninja world, but those things can be done by Senju Hashirama, Uchiha Madara, and even Pain Six Paths. And it's possible to do it more easily than you want. There is still a long way to go. Gong Yi is very excited. It seems that he is not alone. As long as he waits for a while, just a little time, he can face endless masters. The golden chakra won for a moment. Gong Yi smiled and looked at Fugaku. This should just be Susanoo in its initial form. Well, let me think about it. You have opened your eyes for many years, but you haven't tried your best to display the experience of Mangekyo Sharingan. In your eyes, there is still a lot of pupil power. At least it can delay Susanoo to the first form. No, with your talent, you may be able to achieve the second form. Hearing these words, Uchiha Fugaku took a deep breath. Hiss, how much do you know about my Uchiha? Gong Yi shook his head. Perhaps you shouldn't be so surprised. Since Mangekyo can control the chakra illusion arm with pupil power, push it up to cover the whole body, and even control Susanoo to fight directly. Not surprising, very simple speculation. Looking at your expression, it seems that I have already said it. Fugaku was already hesitant to continue showing Mangekyo's abilities. Just the tip of the iceberg, Gong Yi actually deduced so many things. At that moment, he even felt that he had been seen through by Gong Yi. Put Susanoo away. Scared the kids outside. Gong Yi pursed his lips, and in his perception, Uchiha Itachi outside stared at the room very nervously. This can be called the perfect character in Hokage, showing a difference since childhood. Even the moment Susanoo appeared, he felt it. Fugaku reined in his emotions and undid Susanoo. Those evil eyes still stared at Gong Yi. You're sure? It depends on another ability of Mangekyo. Please. I'm looking forward to it. As you wish. Boom. A black flame instantly ignited in the cups placed on the table. The tea inside evaporated instantly. Gong Yi's expression changed slightly, a black flame. Looking at Uchiha Fugaku, the name of this art. Amaterasu. Fugaku is trying to control himself now, and he has an urge to focus on Gong Yi. Instantly activate Amaterasu and burn this demon-like man to death. This guy really knows too much. For Uchiha, he knows more than himself. Susanoo's ability is good, and it took him a few years to grope secretly before he postponed it to the second form. This guy just touched and felt it, and then speculated to the back. It was really terrifying. However, this thought was instantly dispelled by Fugaku. Amaterasu's power is, without a doubt, an unquenchable flame. The flame will not go out unless the target captured by the sight is burnt out. However, this technique also has a disadvantage, that is, the activation seems to be very fast, but there is always a little gap in the middle. For an extremely fast taijutsu expert, the sense of danger is too acute. Maybe as long as she shows Rusi's killing intent, she will be evaded by Gong Yi at high speed. At that time, the situation will be irreversible. Gong Yi looked at the water glass that was burned to nothingness, and was silent for a while, and then, under Fugaku's puzzled eyes, he stretched out a finger. Use Amaterasu again. To this finger. Fugaku growled, "You're crazy." Chapter 244. Su Zanming. Gong Yi turned a deaf ear and just stretched out his fingers. There is a lot of fearlessness in trying the law. Uchiha Fugaku stared at him for a while, then bit Kiba and said, "Since you want to try it, don't blame me for the consequences." Gong Yi raised his eyebrows, as before. Fugaku licked the corner of his mouth. Once the flame of Amaterasu burns, it will never stop until it is destroyed. Since Gong Yi wants to try it, let him try it. Boom! Black flames rise instantly, and Gong Yi, who is opposite, trembles. On the fingers, there was a heart-piercing pain, 10 fingers connected to the heart. However, he held his breath, raised his fingers, and put them in front of his eyes. Squinting slightly, watching this flame carefully. In fact, Gong Yi has long speculated about Uchiha Fugaku's Mangekyo ability. His guess is based on the performance of the original plot. Fugaku's two sons, Itachi and Sasuke, both possess the powerful ability of Amaterasu. According to the genetic characteristics of Kekkei Genkei's blood, Fugaku is very likely to have Amaterasu. And the result of speculation has been confirmed today. This fire is extraordinary. Gong Yi sighed, not seeming at all to feel that his fingers were constantly being burnt to pieces. Fugaku looked at him puzzled. "Don't be afraid to say goodbye without this finger. I don't have the ability to take back Amaterasu." Of course you didn't, not even the future Itachi. Only Sasuke can release the Amaterasu black flame, but he can actively extinguish the Amaterasu black flame. Gong Yi smiled casually, his other hand dexterously formed a few seals, and then pressed it towards the black flame. The seal of sealing fire. Huh! A slight voice sounded, and the group of black flames had disappeared. Sealing technique. Fugaku's expression was cloudy, and there was actually a seal that restrained Amaterasu. Result: Gong Yi has two methods to restrain Amaterasu, the high-speed movement brought by the body technique, and the sealing technique to forcibly seal Amaterasu. But his finger. Fugaku looked over, and in the middle of Gong Yi's left hand, that finger had been burned into nothingness. A beautiful hand, now missing a finger, has become not so perfect anymore. That can be sewed up with medical ninjutsu by cutting off the body. It can be said that in order to test the power of Amaterasu, Gong Yi directly lost a finger. Fugaku spread his hands. "I'm sorry, that's what you asked for." Gong Yi glanced at him and said nonchalantly, "It's okay, I haven't paid attention to this kind of injury." The words fell, he spread his palm openly. The finger that was missing before, actually grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. Gong Yi moved 5 fingers flexibly, as flexible as ever, without being affected at all. When he completely fused Hashirama cells and transformed into his own body. His body already has a powerful self-healing ability. Even if some organs and limbs are missing, as long as the area is not too large, they can be recovered quickly. Even said that this body's bonus to his medical ninjutsu has reached a very high level. This is also the reason why Gong Yi has the confidence to pick up Amaterasu. That what he takes for granted is unimaginable to Fugaku. As if seeing a ghost, Uchiha Fugaku looked straight at Gongyi and couldn't believe the scene just now. His own Amaterasu obviously burned Gongyi's fingers. The other party gave birth to another one. What is this? Gongyi's voice sounded again, bringing Fugaku back to reality. Is there only these two abilities? Fugaku tilted his head, that's all. Gongyi, your strength is truly astounding. Gongyi raised his eyebrows and nodded knowingly. The atmosphere between the two seemed to be silent. But just when the two were silent, the door that had been closed was suddenly opened. Squeaky. A man in a black robe walked straight in. Fugaku's face changed greatly and he looked back. That person actually looks exactly like Gongyi. It's just that Gongyi in front of him is wearing a white robe, while that person is wearing a black robe. Gongyi in the black robe looked at him indifferently, and said indifferently, "Your Mangekyo, he is better than me. Stronger than you imagined. Now this fantasy world should be your second ability. As for Susanoo." Gongyi in black robe shook his head. "As far as I know, as long as Mangekyo Sharingan can be turned on, pupil power can control chakra to materialize. This is just the most basic thing." Uchiha Fugaku's body trembled, and he kept turning his eyes away. On the silent white robe Gongyi and the indifferent black robe Gongyi, look and see. One person have two kinds of spiritual subjects. Black robed Gongyi doesn't. Look at him again, but cast his eyes on white robed Gongyi and let out a low voice. "Wake up." White robed Gongyi trembled all over, and raised his head from the silence. Two Gongyi looked at each other, and the black robe Gongyi turned into a ray of light and instantly plunged into the white robe's body. Gongyi felt all this and looked at the familiar home arrangement again. Shake his head. Solution. Click. As if something was broken, there was a soft sound of the cup breaking. A trance, Gongyi and Fugaku were still sitting cross-legged on the slump. Gongyi suddenly opened his eyes and stared at Fugaku opposite. The corners of his mouth rose uncontrollably. What an interesting ability. Fugaku didn't say a word, just sat like that, as if accepting his fate. Using Mangekyo's ability to build a fantasy world, even the person involved can't even notice that they are in a fantasy world. Everything in the illusion, according to the logical development of reason, seems like everything is real. If you continue like this, you can keep guiding me secretly, and focus certain thoughts into my mind. Even said, desperate to stimulate contradictions, let me in the environment, crazy. It's just that you didn't seem to do it, just show what should be shown to me, and show it again. Gongyi let out a long sigh of relief, and his palms actually clapped. Wonderful. Let me think about when I was pulled into this demonic illusion by you. Fugaku looked at him, his mouth clenched and his muscles tense. He never imagined that his Mangekyo pupil technique would be cracked by Gongyi for the first time. Of breaking it is so incredible. Another black-robed Gongyi's spiritual body, what the hell is that? Clap his palms together, Gongyi excitedly said, it should be when I want to meet your Amaterasu. At that time, you stared at me for a long time, and asked me carefully if you really wanted to see. After that, you cast Amaterasu, which first burns the tea in the cup. And the evidence is in my cup of tea. Gongyi picked up the teacup, shaken it slightly, and the tea was pouring out. If it wasn't in an illusion and everything was real, then this cup of tea must have been burned by Amaterasu. Instead of a full glass like it is now, there is nothing missing. Ah! Fugaku sighed in vain, since the first confrontation between himself and this man. Until now, never once had the upper hand. Demonic illusion didn't work for him before. Today, even Mangekyo level pupil art can't work. A firm sense of frustration welled up in his heart. You guessed it right, it was that time. Gongyi laughed. A pair of Mangekyo can only give birth to two special abilities. Such as Itachi's Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, Sasuke's Amaterasu, plus Earth Life. Obito seems to have only one kind of master, but in fact, Kakashi's Kamui is a long-range attack, and his own space, Uzumaki, belongs to close-range space-time teleportation, and he can even blur himself. Now Fugaku's two abilities have also been figured out by himself. It's a real joy. Some of the puzzles in the original work, and getting the answers in my own hands, there is probably nothing happier than this. Name of this technique. Fugaku said lightly, Suzanming. Gong Yi raised his brows. Interesting. Interesting. Really interesting. Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, Suzanming. Ha ha. Fugaku looked at Gong Yi, who was laughing in confusion. What is Tsukuyomi? Chapter 245. Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, Suzan. Gong Yi drank the tea in the cup and pursed his moist lips. Want to know? Fugaku cautiously said. If there are no conditions, I am all ears. Gong Yi chuckled. I'm happy today, I won't do other deals with you, let's talk to you. Tilted his forehead slightly, as if looking at the endless sky through the roof. Gong Yi said leisurely, there is a legend, not a very reliable one. A long time ago, the universe just solidified from chaotic mud into heaven and earth. This sky is called Gao Tianyuan. Two gods, a man and a woman, descended from Gao Tianyuan to the ground. The male is called Izanagi, and the female is called Izanami. They stood on the pontoon bridge and stirred the sea water with spears. The water dripping from the spear tip condensed and formed islands. Later, Izanagi and Izanami got married there and gave birth to the Great Eight States. This was the first world. Izanagi later died of old age, and Izanami turned into 3 children with her left eye, right eye and nose. Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi and Suzano's boy. Uchiha Fugaku opened his mouth wide and stared at Gong Yi in astonishment. In just a few simple sentences, there is a lot of information revealed. Fugaku, who is already the head of the clan, naturally knows several secret techniques passed down within the clan. Izanagi and Izanami are 2 ways. But according to what Gong Yi said, these 2 are not the names of ninjutsu, but the names of 2 gods of creation. Under these, Amaterasu, the master of himself, and Suzano, the chakra entity spawned by the pupil technique, are actually just children of 2 gods. Tsukuyomi is also one of them, so does Tsukuyomi represent the pupil art that Sharingan can release? Gong Yi laughed. Of course, this legend is not reliable. 6 Paths fairy legend circulating in the ninja world, it is more real. Fugaku swallowed. 6 Paths, is it true? True or false, it doesn't matter. Gong Yi shrugged. The important thing is that in the legend I just mentioned, the man of Suzano has another name. What is? Succulent. Fugaku touched his right eye blankly. Another pupil technique he mastered was subconsciously named Suzanming when he was born. Suzan is Suzano's man, so what does Suzanming mean? Suzano's man's tweet, so Suzano is also equivalent to Suzano's man's body manifesting Gong Yi's armrest and sighing, so, your pupil art is quite interesting. It faintly corresponds to the legend I know already. Where did you know it? Facing Fugaku's questioning, Gong Yi smiled slightly. I told you about those. Just now, I'm happy. As for where I know that, that's not your question. Fugaku was startled and didn't dare to ask any more questions. At this moment, his heart was in a mess, like a mess, and he couldn't understand how to make sense of it. Gong Yi poured water and drank tea by himself. In fact, what he just said is just a little bit of donkeying, myths that he casually understood before crossing over. And he cut a lot of it. Choosing to say it, it was just because Gong Yi found it interesting, and by the way, it messed up Fugaku's heart. According to the original setting, the Uchiha clan is undoubtedly the descendant of the Otsutsuki clan. Among them, Indra's power dominates this family. It has nothing to do with Izanagi, Izanami. These names may be just the original author, citing scriptures, and that's all. Go out and meet your child. Gong Yi patted the hem of his clothes, stood up, and walked out. You brought him here today, presumably to let him get to know me. But this child Itachi, in fact, I have already met. Fugaku followed behind Gongyi, still thinking. He was always thinking about those things. Could it be that the Uchiha clan are descendants of gods? Gongyi just said, that is just a very unreliable legend. But the ninjutsu masters that he mastered were born at the beginning, including Amaterasu, Susanoo, Suzanming's name. How should this explain, father? Lord Gongyi. Uchiha Itachi bowed respectfully and saluted. Gongyi nodded. Have you graduated yet? Having graduated, I am about to go out on a mission and become a real ninja who has experienced battles. Looking at the respectful Uchiha Itachi, Gongyi suddenly felt like a dream. I still remember the last time I met this child. It was only a 5 or 6-year-old boy. Now that he has graduated, Gongyi beckoned, and Hyuga Neji walked over. Neji, my disciple. He is going to enter the ninja school soon. As his senior, you might as well give him some pointers on taijutsu. Uchiha Itachi raised his eyebrows, but Neji bowed. Teacher, he has already pointed me to it just now. Is it? Gongyi was slightly startled, then shook his head with a smile and said, it's okay, anyway. It's time to have nothing to do, you two practice pure physical skills against each other. I would like to see how well you have laid the foundation this year. Neji nodded and stepped aside. Uchiha Itachi looked at his father, but Fugaku didn't say anything and kept his head down in thought. Itachi no longer hesitated and stood opposite Neji. Before the two were about to practice against each other, Gongyi moved his fingers lightly. Hyuga Neji only felt the gravity on her body, it disappeared all of a sudden, and instantly became lightened. The seal of confrontation. Gongyi said lightly. At this moment, he was just like the teacher judge before. A 9-year-old boy and a 5-year-old boy formed the seal of opposition. The next moment, phew, the wind sounded, and the two had already fought together. Fighting back and forth, it seems to be lively. Gongyi only looked at it for a moment, then shook his head with a smile. Okay, stop it, not the seal of reconciliation. Neji was a little puzzled, he felt like he had just started to warm up, why did it end? But Uchiha Itachi moved in his heart, Lord Gongyi, his strength is indeed strong, and he saw through him in an instant. Of course Gongyi saw it clearly. Uchiha Itachi's physical skills are stronger than expected, and he is even close to graduating. Math, I was 8 years old when I graduated, and Itachi is 9 now. He has systematic help, but Itachi, as the son of the Uchiha patriarch, is talented and hardworking, and it makes sense that he can catch up with him in an extra year. In fact, Gongyi proposed this showdown with his own ideas in it. He wanted to know how powerful Uchiha Itachi is now. And he already knew. Fugaku, your son, the foundation is solid. Ah. Fugaku froze for a moment, then smiled, Itachi is really good. ... With his strength, combining ninjutsu, taijutsu, and your family's Sharingan, he should already be above the level of Chunin. I think so too, but Itachi is still young and has to go through some trials. Hearing this conversation, Neji suddenly realized that the boy who was older than him just now had more than Chunin's strength. He practiced against himself, so he should have kept his hand. Uchiha Itachi's foundation is extremely solid. Taijutsu is tyrannical, demonic illusion has Sharingan bonus, and in ninjutsu. Although Gongyi didn't see him use it, Itachi can achieve the existence of one-handed hand seal in the future, and it must be not far behind. Genius is worthy of being a genius, and now, he has already walked ahead of others. Hearing the two adults praising him, Itachi was also a little shy. Actually Neji is pretty good too. ... On the way home, Itachi looked at Fugaku curiously. Father, Hyuga Neji's foundation is very good, and it seems that Lord Gongyi is also very good at teaching disciples. Fugaku hummed, but still didn't say anything. Father, Sasuke still needs a year to go to school. Why don't Sasuke also worship Lord Gongyi as his teacher, and let him practice for a year with him? Fugaku stopped and touched Itachi's head lovingly. This is not acceptable. The family and the village are not very harmonious. If we get too close to Gongyi, or even make your younger brother his disciple, it will only attract criticism from the village. Itachi blinked, realizing that he wasn't thinking enough. In fact, he thought a lot. If Sasuke became Gongyi's disciple, he could not only learn something, but also make Gongyi's relationship with his family better. It's just that now, when you look at problems for yourself, you have to go to a higher level and think about them. Fugaku stepped forward, ready to start again, only to stop abruptly at the next moment. I have overlooked a question. Why is Gongyi not interested in the position of Hokage? Chapter 246. Uncle. Go away. It's gone. Gongyi hummed, lying in the yard, looking at Gongling who was standing beside him. Suddenly asked, I asked you to monitor the water country before, how is the situation? When Gongyi rushed to the Kumogakure battlefield, he did not bring Gongbel with him. There are many reasons, the most important one is, Gongyi is confident in his own strength, and secondly, he asked Gongling to go to Kurigakure village, the land of water. He had a hunch that if Terumi-Mei really wanted to do it, it would be time for Konoha and Kumogakure to fight and attract everyone's attention. Is the best time to launch a coup. Gongling respectfully said, as the master expected, that woman did act during that time. Then she is now the 5th generation of Mizukage. Gongling nodded, yes. But the woman hasn't released any news yet. She should be planning to complete the reconstruction of Kurigakure village. She should do it again. Gongyi squinted slightly. Gongling's analysis should be correct. If Terumi-Mei wants to declare her position as Mizukage, she will definitely be in power after the master village. Rebuilding the village of Kurigakure is just a good transition time. Gongling, you seem to be getting smarter and smarter now, and you will analyze these things. 3220. Quote. Master taught well. Haha, this makes my heart quite comfortable, master. Pack up, let's find time, let's go to Kurigakure village, and it's time to get what we want. Gongyi said with a smile. Gongling asked puzzled. There are more and more people visiting the master recently, why are we going out? Those people. Gongyi's tone was leisurely, and the people in his words didn't seem to have any weight. But they are all just a group of people who are chasing after power and vying for power. And Gongyi is the best springboard for them to compete for power. But how do those people know that there is no great temptation for Gongyi and Yan? Power is at your fingertips. So-called Hokage position, as long as Gongyi stretches out his hand, a lot of people will naturally take it for him. You don't even need someone else to take it. Sarutobi Hiruzen will take the initiative to hand it over. Gongyi shook his head. For now, the position of Hokage doesn't have much effect on him. Yes, his strength is enough to beat the current ninja world. Even in the village of Iwagakure, Onoki poses no threat to him. Jinten particle style is terrible to say, known as the fusion of 3 kinds of chakras, and also, the blood following elimination on Kekkei Genkei. But Jinten particle style release speed is slow, as long as he opens the 7th door, Jinten particle style can't even touch his clothes Kakuzu. Instead, he can quickly kill the old man Onoki. At present, no one in the ninja world can threaten him, and the so-called ninja village and country are meaningless to him. Perhaps unifying the world, ending the war, and enjoying peace while you are alive is a good challenge. But right now, it's not the time. Unification. It's never been that simple. It doesn't mean that if you win someone else's battle, other people's power, territory, and wealth will all belong to you. Reason is very simple. For example, Gongyi won the Kumogakure village and forced the Land of Thunder to seek peace. How can he go deep into the Land of Thunder, kill the daimyo, and destroy the village of Kumogakure. Then, Konoha doesn't have so many ninjas and talents. Take over the territorial wealth of the Land of Thunder. Doing so is just useless. What Gongyi thought was not complicated, but very simple. Let Sarutobi Hiruzen continue to sit in that position. Anyway, Sarutobi Hiruzen is experienced and skilled in managing the village. Under his leadership, take a moment to push the strength of the village to its peak. In this way, when he takes the top position, he will take over a Konoha village whose strength has reached its peak. The huge military strength is matched with the wealthy economic conditions of the country of fire. By then, destroying other countries and unifying the world will be a matter of course. This kind of decision, spanning several years or even more than 10 years, seems like those. People who doubt that Gongyi is not interested in the position of Hokage are just too short-sighted and can't see that far. Gongyi and, now Hokage, busy governing the village. Better to be at ease and study some interesting people to accompany their women. Thinking of his own woman, Gongyi's mouth corners, involuntarily a smile appeared. Gongling, I won't be back tonight. Gongling was not surprised, she just asked subconsciously, are you going to that elder sister's place? Well, prepare your own dinner, don't think about me. Gongyi got up from the rocking chair and was ready to go out. Gongling bit her lip, summoned up her courage and said behind her, Master, why didn't you bring that sister to live at home? Gongyi turned his head, tilted his head and thought about it. The streets of Konoha village are bustling and bustling. War is over, and the Kingdom of Thunder seeks peace. This time, there is no such thing as killing Hyuga Hazashi in the original book, but the country of Thunder gave a lot of war compensation. With this war usually, Konoha's recovery speed will be much faster. On the street where people came and went, there was a sudden commotion, and then people turned their backs. Catch that kid. He broke the glass of my house, it's really annoying. Several adults were chasing a child, shouting and yelling. Who dangled in the crowd were dressed in orange and had a few cat-like whiskers on their faces. It looks like a tiger's head and a tiger's tail, and the body is also very strong. At a tricky corner, the child turned around and grimaced. Come after me. Can't catch up. Goodbye. After that, he doesn't care. Those, exasperated, turned into another street. The people behind were furious and cursed with their hands on their hips. But without scolding twice, he stopped. A young man in a white robe, carrying the clothes around the neck of the child just now, walked over slowly. Master Gongyi, you. Naruto messed up again. No, it's just. When he was playing, he smashed the glass of my house. Looking at the respectful villagers, Gongyi smiled dumbly and knocked Naruto on the head. This little guy, hurry up and say sorry. Naruto pouted and muttered, I'm sorry. I caused trouble for you all. Break the glass, you need money to repair it. I'll pay you here. Gongyi took out his wallet, but before he could give the money, several villagers shook their heads enthusiastically. No, where can I get the money from Lord Gongyi? It's really not necessary, it's just a few small pieces of glass, I'll just go home and fix it. While speaking, several villagers ran away. Gongyi put away his wallet and smiled helplessly. These villagers, now they all respect him from the bottom of their hearts. Aiwu and Wuxia, they didn't hate the naughty Uzumaki Naruto as much as they did in the original book. In any case, this child was taken care of by Lord Gongyi. Uncle Gongyi, you put me down. Carrying it like this is like carrying a kitten. Naruto said angrily. Gongyi released his hand and Naruto fell to the ground. And then this guy, pull his legs and run. It's just that he hasn't run twice, he can't move, even if he bites Kiba's legs, he can't walk 2 steps. Uncle Gongyi, I was wrong. Gongyi moved his fingers, and Naruto sat down on the ground. Come with me and go home for dinner. Oh. Naruto pouted and followed Gongyi. Even learned Gongyi, put his hands behind his back and looked like a little adult. Uncle Gongyi, what kind of ninjutsu did you use just now? Why do I feel so heavy that I can't run? Gongyi walked forward, facing the setting sun, smiled and said, do you want to learn? Naruto took a step and jumped onto Gongyi's elongated shadow. Think. It's so interesting, and all of a sudden, people can't move. I will use this ninjutsu to keep the little devils who scold me, so that they can't run away, and then I will use dye to paint turtles on their faces. Gongyi laughed, then I won't teach you. Ah. Actually, you can't learn it either. Gongyi shook his head. The technique he used on Naruto was actually an upgraded version of the low-level scholar's skill, gravity. He has 10 million academic tyrants, so he simply uses the gravity technique. 6 tones have been upgraded to advanced. The advanced gravity technique is still called by this name. However, the effect has changed drastically. Not only can you use it on yourself, but you can also use it on others. Usually, when Hyuga Neji is practicing, he will add 1 or 2 gravity to Neji at will, which has the effect of weight-bearing training. Before I let Neji and Uchiha Itachi practice, he first released the gravity technique, and then let the practice be carried out. As for this technique, what level can it reach in the end? From the current point of view, the upper limit is about 5 times the gravity. For the strong, the effect is very general. With a chakra will unlock it. However, in battle, it can be used unexpectedly once, but it can have a good effect. Of course, Gongyi's current strength doesn't need this stuff either. It's interesting to use it to teach disciples and teach Naruto a lesson. Arriving at the door of Ari's house, Gongyi felt the Anbu ninja around him, who was barely watching. For his own sake, Sarutobi Hiruzen is now more and more restraining his actions. Gongyi suddenly asked, Naruto, how old are you? Naruto jumped out of his shadow and muttered, 4 years and 4. What's the matter? Chapter 247. 17-year-old Gongling. As for Uzumaki Naruto's age, Gongyi certainly knows. He asked, just to confirm. 4 years and 4. Gongyi said leisurely, recalling that when he was 5 years old, he left the orphanage and lived independently. Naruto is now approaching his age, or going to the Jonin school. And his care for Naruto is almost here. Speaking of which, Gongyi's comrade in arms, Minato, can be said to have taken care of him for the past 4 years. Bowing his head, Gongyi said in a low voice, Naruto, maybe soon, you will have to live independently. Naruto was stunned and looked at Gongyi in confusion. Gongyi didn't explain too much, and knocked on the door of Wei Li's house. Squeak! The door was opened, and Shuli smiled softly, come on, come in. Gongyi stepped in, and Naruto bowed his head and followed. Arai saw Naruto's dirty look and shook his head. How come it's like this again? Naruto pouted, Auntie, there are always some children who can't get along with me. You scold me today, I will throw stones at them. And then broke the glass of others. Gongyi poured himself a cup of tea and drank it. Hilly raised her eyebrows, Naruto, how can you break the glass of someone else's house? Naruto made a face and ran into his room 29. Gongyi smiled, put down the cup, and opened his hands. Ilie sat meekly in his arms. The nephrite jade was warm and fragrant in his arms. Gongyi's hand unconsciously climbed up somewhere soft, and Hilly was a little shy, but he didn't stop it. Naruto is also 4 years old. It's time to let him leave you. Wei Li stiffened, the child is still very young. I'm not too young. I moved out of the orphanage at the age of 4 or 5 and lived independently anyway. I give him the living expenses every month, and occasionally take care of it. I can't bear it. Sakurai Eri sighed, after all, I raised him for 4 years, and he is just like my own child, who would be willing. Gongyi hugged Hilly and said with emotion, yeah, 4 years. Because of me, because of Naruto, you have been delayed for 4 years. You're just a weak woman, and it's not a problem to delay like this. Kissing Li Yi, Gong Yi smiled and said, when Naruto enters the school, you can move into my house. Is it really possible? Actually, I wanted you to live with me for a long time, but because of Naruto, I didn't tell you. Gong Yi smiled softly, I'm planning to go out recently, you can also clean up, and when I get back, move in. Eri Yi is that kind of very traditional woman. Gentle and virtuous, once she decides to follow Gong Yi, she will not object to what Gong Yi says. Besides, being able to move in and get along with Gong Yi day and night is something she has always hoped for. But because of Naruto, she was delayed for a long time. Naruto still has the identity of Kyuubi, Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, Column Force, and he cannot leave the village at will. Can't go to Gong Yi's place to take care of him. Now that Naruto is almost at the time of independence, these scruples don't have to be considered. During dinner at night, Naruto was still as lively and active as before, with a heartless look, as if he didn't take Gong Yi's previous words to heart. Maybe later he will resent Eri Yi and Gong Yi abandons him and lets him live alone. But when he's a little older, it'll make sense. He knew how much Gong Yi and Wei Li had paid for him over the years. The sun is no more, replaced by Koyuki. In the 52nd year of Konoha, winter looks special. Gong Yi is dressed in thick clothes and white, walking on a lonely road. Beside him, is Gong Ling shrouded in a black robe. Two walked in step, unhurriedly. This trip, they are going to get what Terumi may promise them. But don't worry about this kind of thing. When Gong Yi and Gong Ling are on their way, they often enter cities in some small countries to eat, drink and play. Gong Ling seemed very curious and happy about all this. Staying in Gong Yi's mansion all day long is a bit depressing for Gong Ling, who gradually understands this world. At this time, Gong Ling followed Gong Yi with a bag in her hand. Is food inside? Gong Yi bought it for her when she passed by a small town. Suddenly, Gong Yi stopped, turned to look at Gong Ling, and kept groping for his chin. Master, what's wrong? Gong Ling looked at herself suspiciously, not knowing what Gong Yi meant. Gong Yi said softly, take off your hat. Ah! Gong Ling was stunned, but she, who always obeyed Gong Yi, did not hesitate and lifted her hat. A pair of delicate faces appeared in Gong Yi's eyes. White skin like snowflakes, innocent eyes, upturned nose bridge, and pink lips. In front of the black hair, the two ears were blown by the cold wind, and the earlobes were yui. She really is a graceful woman like an elf. Ah! How many years? Gong Yi muttered to himself. No one could believe that the delicate and beautiful woman in front of him would be the kind Nohara Rin back then. Long-term use of chakra maintains muscle changes over time. Nohara Rin has changed into the pure and beautiful woman she is now. Her name is Gong Ling, not Nohara Rin. Even if Namikaze Minato, Kakashi, Obito are standing in front of Gong Ling, they probably wouldn't recognize her. And Gong Ling has changed not only her appearance, but her height has also grown to 1 meter 6 or 8, the thighs are slender and powerful. After all, Gong Ling followed Gong Yi and learned not only ninjutsu, but also physical training. Those strong and slender thighs, if wrapped around a man's waist. Gulong. Gong Yi swallowed subconsciously. How could he have such a charming thought towards Gong Ling? Obviously he likes big breasts, just like Tsunade and Eri Yi. Master, then I put on my hat. Gong Ling blinked her beautiful eyes and was about to continue putting on her hat. Gong Yi raised his hand, interrupting her movement. If it is not necessary in the future, there is no need to cover up your appearance. You are not blind. Gong Ling opened her mouth slightly, and Cherry Mouth seemed a little overwhelmed. Who wants to be shrouded in black robes every day, hiding in the shadows and touching this bright world? She hummed happily. Let's go, according to our speed. it is estimated that we will be almost there in 2 or 3 days from the land of water. Maybe you took off your hat, you can enjoy the cool feeling when the snowflakes drift without any scruples. Gong Ling walked beside Gong Yi slightly lively. He was a little bolder than usual, and dared to ask some questions. Master, that woman is now a Mizukage, will she willingly give you the sweetened, water-style ninjutsu of Kurigakure village? Gong Yi smiled confidently, the position of Mizukage may give her some confidence to face her. To me. But as long as she's not stupid, she won't break her original promise. What if she sets an ambush and lays siege to us? Then I don't mind actually destroying the village of Kurigakure and removing it from the ninja world. Snow-covered, the forest is silent. The young woman's lively and crisp voice sounded from time to time, accompanied by the man's magnetic answer. 2 days later, a large ship crossed the sea and entered the land of water. Take the time to say something from your heart. This book is to fulfill my dream of writing a Hokage fanfic, so I have been writing it very seriously. Not a joke, the author is not a newcomer, and there are millions of old books in a certain station. If I am thinking of becoming a god and making money, maybe I won't come to Flying Furnace. After all, a certain station is the industry's first. In order to realize this somewhat naive dream, I came to the flying stove that is most suitable for fandom development. The book I write is not to follow the trend of this site, but to write according to my ideas. The protagonist grows step by step and becomes stronger step by step. Where there is strength, there is a way of doing things. At what level of status, one should have what attitude to face other roles. It can be said that my protagonist is not a cold-hearted person who only crushes the outfit ratio, and he is also a flesh and blood existence. His way of thinking will change, and his attitude towards people and things will also change constantly. But writing this is really tiring. There is no mature routine to speak of, everything has to be explored by the author Kun himself. Maintain 5 chapters a day, 13,000. Word update, very tiring. Yes, my 5 chapters are an average of 13,000. Around the word exchange for other authors, it can be divided into at least 6 chapters, or even 7 chapters. That is to say, it's being updated every day. Been writing so hard for more than a month, unfortunately, my body has a little problem. Lumbar muscle strain and hemorrhoids. You know the specific situation on Baidu, anyway. It's very uncomfortable. Therefore, I have been mentioning the update, but it has not been updated for a long time, so I just keep the 4 or 5 chapters, save the manuscript, there is really no way to update it. Please forgive me and understand. I don't ask much for rewards, but the monthly pass for flowers is. Please give more, at least the data is better. Thank you all. Today there will be 5 more filu to remind you. Reading 3 things to collect, push the latest chapter Baidu search 99 playmates to find 99 novel network and LT. Chapter 248. This is the 3rd time to return to the land of water. Compared to the previous 2 sneaking in, this time Gong Yi was much more free and easy. Although the country of water is located overseas compared to the other 4 major countries. But in fact, they also have a huge land. This land should be an island. Or some small islands dotted around, and there are people on them. Gong Yi took Gong Bell and walked around the land of water for a long time, eating, drinking and playing, and occasionally fishing at the seaside. During winter, other inland rivers freeze, but not the sea. Facing the cool sea breeze and the freezing snow, fishing is also unique. Both of them are strong in the ninja world, so naturally they will not be afraid of these. Cold. Just like that, I played for about 4 or 5 days. The sushi box and followed Gong Yi while eating. She swiftly ran to Gong Yi and asked curiously, Master, aren't we going to Kurigakure village? Why have we been wandering in the big city? Gong Yi said lazily, do you think it's appropriate to go to Kurigakure village as me? Gong Ling was stunned for a while, then realized that something was wrong with her. Actually, when we blatantly appeared in the land of water, the ninjas in the village of Kurigakure should have discovered it. Gong Yi smiled and pursed his lips. Gong Ling looked to the side, and a man turned around immediately. Gong Ling frowned. According to her perception ability, the man just now possessed a Jhanan-level chakra fluctuation. Gong Yi, who came to monitor them, walked over slowly with his hands behind his back. Don't worry, no one dares to do anything to me. But the master used to kill Kurigakure village. It is impossible to guarantee that hatred will not blind other people's eyes, in case they become impulsive. Some people will control their hatred, or they will provoke me, and no one will be able to eat good fruit. Gong Yi came to a Wen Izumi hotel. Let's stay here today. According to my calculations, Terumi Mei should also leave to see me. Gong Ling hummed, and looked at the Wen Izumi hotel with some curiosity. The two walked in. After they entered, the three men gathered together in an instant. It's definitely the devil. It should be right. According to the photo, it can never be wrong. And no one dares to fake the name of the dark blue devil and enter my water country. That kind of consequences, no one can bear. Then what do we do now to let him continue with such a swagger? It is absolutely impossible to do it. Lord Mizukage has given an order long ago. During the recent period, try to be as gentle as possible and not to do anything to the ninjas of other ninja villages. Then report back to Mizukage, Sama first. Well, that's it. Is there any room? Yes, but expensive. Owner rubbed his hands. Guests should know that this kind of weather, like our Wen Izumi hotel, is very welcome. So the price will be very expensive. Gong Yi nodded. In winter, if you can soak in warm Izumi comfortably after a tired day to get rid of the cold, that would be a wonderful thing. Price isn't an issue, it's about the environment. I'll take you to see it. The boss greeted his family to take care of the front desk, and went to the back with Gong Yi Gong Ling. In a small courtyard, inside the house, there is a steaming warm Izumi. The environment is quite good. However, the price is also unexpectedly high. Cost 10,000 taels to stay for a day. After all, it is a hotel in the capital of the country of water, which is comparable to the 5-star hotel in the capital of a country in the Washa world in the previous life. Expensive, of course. Gong Yi is not short of money now, not to mention his savings. Just as the director of Konoha Hospital, he has a very generous salary every year. After setting the room, Gong Yi took off his clothes and soaked in Wen Izumi. The sound of clogs stepping on the wooden board sounded. Gong Ling came over with a tray. Master, the store also sent some winter fruits and pastries. Come in. Gong Ling hummed, and put the tray into Wen Izumi so that Gong Yi could eat it at any time. Won't you come in and take a dip? It's very comfortable. Gong Yi squinted and lay comfortably on the shore of Wen Izumi Pond. Gong Ling touched the temperature of the water. It was a little hot, but if it bubbles a little on such a day, it should be very comfortable. She went to the side, changed her clothes, and walked over wrapped in a bath towel. Gong Yi's eyes saw that the short bath towel couldn't wrap Gong Ling's slender thighs at all. The clean thighs stretched out, and the white feet tentatively touched the water temperature. Wow! Gong Ling suddenly got in, and said happily, it's so cool. Hee, although we also have a swimming pool at home, it's still a little worse than this Wen Izumi. Gong Yi shook his head. If there is a chance, it would be great to draw a few geothermal veins under the house. Gong Ling blinked, and Yuhi fluttered his cheeks with drops of water. Can the master still leave the earth? Not yet, but in the future, maybe I will be able to master this ability. Gong Yi said leisurely. In his mind, the top-level academic tyrant's skill of ruling all dharmas flashed by. Since he got this skill, he has been researching it, and finally found a lot of wonderful uses. Governing all laws, as the name suggests, can lead and control countless laws. Ninjutsu is also considered law. If you can master Kaden fire-style ninjutsu, Doden earth-style ninjutsu, and Suiten water-style ninjutsu to the limit. It is not difficult to transform the terrain and pull the ley lines. Moreover, Gong Yi also found that since he used the rule of law, he learned other ninjutsu almost easily. Well, even the sealing technique, he has mastered to a very advanced level. If Gong Yi wants to, he can completely untie the 8 trigram seal on Naruto. This time in the land of water, if Terumi Mei obediently handed over the Sweden, water-style, ninjutsu from Kurigakure village, Gong Yi's strength will be able to rise to a new level after studying and researching. Wow! The sound of water sounded, and the graceful body was already leaning on Gong Yi's arm. Master, let me squeeze your shoulders. Gong Yi pulled Gong Ling over. You don't need to pinch your shoulders, let me check your body. ... Night fell, and the snowflakes fluttered. A graceful body fell on the roof. Terumi Mei sensed everything around her, and then her face turned Yuhi. What is this guy doing? Just as she muttered and cursed, a voice accurately entered her ears. Come down, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Chapter 249. 5 Generations of Mizukage and Hokage. In the warm room, Terumi Mei's eyes were a bit dodging. Gong Yi, who was sitting on the opposite side, was wearing a loose yukata, and his strong and beautiful chest was exposed, which made people feel a little dizzy. Master, drink tea. Gong Ling respectfully served the tea tray, and Terumi Mei looked over. Elf-like beautiful woman had a lustrous complexion, as if she had taken some great tonic. Of course she knew what the two of them were doing before, that tactful voice, just listening to it, made Yuhi's heart beat. Shameless. Terumi Mei cursed in a low voice. The other side, Gong Yi chuckled. Mizukage, Sama, it seems a little bold to scold me in front of me like this. Terumi Mei's body trembled, remembering the countless things Gong Yi had done before. This devil's temper is not as good as he imagined. But in a flash, she wrinkled her beautiful nose. So what, knowing that I will come to you tonight, you still. It seems that you have nothing to fear. I'm not afraid that I will kill you. Gong Yi looked at this woman with interest, he rarely met such a courageous person. Terumi Mei pursed her lips and looked at Gong Yi with a half-smile. If you want to kill me, you shouldn't have to wait until now. Oh, smart. Hearing what Gong Yi said, Terumi Mei, who seemed to be calm, was relieved in her heart. Sure enough, this man had no intention of killing himself. If anything, when Gong Yi was caught at 320, Gong Yi would be ready to do it. I still have some use value for him, and he will not be ruthless. Gong Yi has some appreciation for Terumi Mei. This woman is strong and tyrannical, bold and careful, and can analyze anything very thoroughly with a delicate heart. She is a Kekkei Genkei ninja who can survive the blood fog policy and even establish her own power secretly. If it's not smart, it's definitely not possible. Counting the women he has met in his life, Gong Yi feels that these women have their own characteristics. Tsunade and him intersect. The deepest, seemingly careless, strong and independent, but actually very weak inside, always looking for someone to rely on, but unwilling to expose his weakness. Weili is the kind of woman who is very traditional in her bones, has her own career, and does a very good job. Once he had an intimate relationship with Gong Yi, he followed himself with all his heart, and was extremely gentle. As for Gong Ling, Gong Yi is still a little unsure. Now it seems that Gong Ling is obedient to him, but it is also because of the technique of nirvana. He didn't know how Gong Ling would treat his former master, if he took the initiative to unravel the technique of nirvana for Gong Ling one day. Have you brought what I want? Gong Yi said lightly, not intending to betray Terumi Mei, but to cut straight to the point and go straight to Wanglong. Terumi Mei pouted, there are so many Sweden, water-style, ninjutsu in Kurigakure village, do you think I can bring it with you? Gong Yi frowned, since you didn't bring it here, why did you come to see me? Why, I interrupted your good deeds, and I'm in a bad mood. Women, you should know that men are the least provocative creatures. You in my skin, Be careful not to eat kabuto and walk away. Gong Yi narrowed his eyes slightly and said softly. Terumi Mei's heart skipped a beat, and the words just now made me chill. She had no doubt that she really wanted to fight Gong Yi, fearing that something bad would happen. A deep breath, Terumi Mei said something. Things, I have prepared them, and they are stored in a secret base outside the village. But I have something to ask you, if you don't mind, please answer me. Ask. Gong Yi didn't mention any conditions, whether to answer or not depends on what the other party asked. Can Kurigakure village and Konoha coexist peacefully? Terumi Mei said solemnly. In the position of Mizukage, the things she has to think about now are not as one-sided as before. Much hatred she has for Gong Yi, she has to consider the whole village. Now the reconstruction of Kurigakure village is almost done. The next step is to open the blockade and establish diplomatic relations with villages in other countries. Only in this way can the village obtain enough tasks to maintain the development of the village. If it is still like water and fire with Konoha, it is undoubtedly a very bad situation. Therefore, she intends to establish diplomatic relations with Konoha and coexist peacefully. Faced with this question, Gong Yi smiled and shook his head. Why do you need to ask me? I'm not in my position, I don't seek political affairs. Terumi Mei said seriously, in my opinion, it will be a matter of time before you become Hokage. Now I talk to you about the meeting between Mizukage and Hokage. If you make a statement, it represents the attitude of Konoha. At least, you have to talk to the 3 generations of Hokage first. Gong Yi avoided the topic. He is a man of great promise. If he gave Terumi Mei the answer he wanted at this time, he would kill Kurigakure village with his backhand in the future. This kind of thing, Gong Yi does not. It seems that Gong Yi is now undoubtedly the strongest representative of Konoha. If Gong Yi's promise can be obtained, at least the village of Kurigakure will not face Konoha in the future. Go and talk to Sarutobi Hiruzen. That old man loves peace, and even Sunagakure village, where he had a vengeful life and death, can forgive him. Can get the answer you want from him. Gong Yi said lightly, with a bit of disdain in his tone. The history is staged according to the original book. Even though Sunagakure village and Konoha had a fight, and Sunagakure village reneged on their promise and participated in the war between Konoha and Iwagakure village, Sarutobi Hiruzen still accepted Sunagakure village. Let go of any previous grudges and communicate peacefully. Don't Sarutobi Hiruzen know that the wolf cubs are unfamiliar after all? Terumi Mei doesn't know this. She heard that Konoha had established a peaceful relationship with Sunagakure village, and her eyes were bright. If so, then Kurigakure village can try to get in touch with Konoha next. Once achieved, the village of Kurigakure will be able to go out without shrinking into the land of water. Couldn't get Gong Yi's answer, Gong Yi also pointed her out a way. This trip is worthwhile. Tomorrow night, you can come outside the village of Kurigakure. When the time comes, I will give you the things. Terumi Mei got up and was about to leave. When she saw the quiet and delicate woman sitting beside her, she felt a faint sense of familiarity in her heart. You are the 3-tailed Jinchuriki column force that I fought against before. Gong Ling blinked, pursed her lips and smiled, but did not answer. Terumi Mei shook her head. She didn't expect that the one who fought with her, the 3-tailed Jinchuriki column force, under the black robe, would be such a lovely and beautiful woman. And so young, he looks 5 or 6 years younger than himself. Terumi Mei left, Gong Yi finished his cup of tea. Turning his eyes, he waved at Gong Ling. Come here. Gong Ling walked meekly and looked at Gong Yi with moist eyes. Master. Let's continue. The next night, under the dark moonlight, snowflakes were still falling. Gong Yi and Gong Ling left Ayutthaya and went outside the village of Kurigakure. However, they didn't wait for Terumi Mei to show up. They only saw the fire in the Kurigakure village, the sky-high fire, and the constant screams of killing. Kurigakure civil strife. The last chapter was driving and it was reviewed. Philo reminds you. Reading 3 things to collect. Push the latest chapter. Baidu search 99 playmates to find 99 novels and LT, otherwise collection will be banned. IP. Chapter 250. Meet Orochimaru again. Dark corners, sparse light. When his hand touched the iron fence, a 7-year-old boy suddenly reached out his hand. That icy feeling made him chill. Boy has white hair, 2 yuhi dots printed on the center of his eyebrows, and green pupils staring blankly at everything around him. Will this be my whole life? Stay here every day, lonely, deserted, and no one talks to me. What do people live for? The teenager curled up in the corner, holding his knee with one hand and sliding his fingers on the ground with the other. From time to time, the fingers stretched out white sharp bones, scratching the hard ground, which is a deep small ravine. Kimimaro. A huge roar sounded, and a middle-aged man walked in. Whoa! The chains of the prison were opened, and the middle-aged man looked at him frantically. It's time for my Kagaya clan to bloom. Come out and fight with me. Kimimaro looked at him blankly, stood up, and followed behind him. Walking out of the prison cave, looking at the fire-lit village of Kurigakure, he whispered, "What do I need to do?" Unleash your powers and kill all the ninjas you see. I, the Kagaya clan, will overthrow the village of Kurigakure today. Oh! Kimimaro snorted, his right hand pointed diagonally, and a long bone sword stretched out. Come on! Kimimaro rushed out, like a young beast, into the sky of fire. History will change dramatically because of the flapping of the butterfly's wings. But history has a strong inertia, and it will always make some things that should have changed, gradually move towards the right track. Unless the power of the butterfly's wings is enough to destroy that piece of history. Gong Yi is. It's the butterfly that changed history, but his wings only affected the village of Kurigakure, and the main direction of the wind is not here. Because of him, Terumi discovered Yagura's anomaly in advance, launched a coup, and ended the blood fog policy ahead of schedule. Stands to reason that under Terumi Mei's soft-hearted policy, the Kekkei Genkei family such as the Kagaya family will not break out into war. But the innate madness of the Kagaya family, after being persecuted by Yagura, finally turned into dissatisfaction with the village. The Kagaya rebellion, repeat. Standing on the peak, Gong Yi looked at the Kurigakure village where the screams of killing were so loud. Suddenly, his ears moved. There was the sound of stepping on the snow in the dense forest, and a thin, gloomy man walked out. Orochimaru, long time no see. Gong Yi headed, and said without looking back. Relying on the perception of divine consciousness, he knew who was coming. Orochimaru's outstretched foot stopped in the air, his eyes fell on the young man's back. As for the young woman beside him, Orochimaru didn't pay much attention. Oh, Orochimaru, you are standing there hesitantly, are you afraid of me? Humph. The foot stopped in the air fell, Orochimaru snorted coldly, and walked over to Gong Yi generously. One was wearing a snow-white robe, the other was wearing a gray-white robe, facing the cold night wind, and looking at the Kurigakure village where the fire was shining down the mountain. Gong Ling wisely stepped aside, not hindering the conversation between the master and the visitor. Hey, Gong Yi, after I left Konoha, you have done a lot of great things. Orochimaru licked his tongue and said grimly. Gong Yi chuckled, what do you think about the things I did? Orochimaru was silent for a while, then slowly said, as expected of the person I once admired, you have already walked in front of me. Tisk tisk, very high evaluation. Gong Yi felt at ease. Once upon a time, in the face of Orochimaru, I had to be trembling and try my best to hide myself. But now, Orochimaru pretended to be calm in front of him. Time flies, and things are different. Orochimaru suddenly said, I'm very curious, how far you have progressed in the research of Hashirama cells. Why ask this topic? Orochimaru squinted, I've heard of your record. With your body, FA has such a huge amount of chakra. So you think, I have the power of Master Hashirama. You can deny it. No, no use. Gong Yi smiled lightly and made a seal on his hands. The huge chakra suddenly poured out, and behind him, there was the sound of the soil breaking open and the wood growing. Mokuden, wood style, forge in Cherokee, column home art. A beautiful and complex house appears in front of you in a blink of an eye. Gong Yi spread out his hands. It's snowing and windy outside, why didn't you go in and take a seat? Orochimaru's pupils shrank, biting Kiba and spit out 2 words. Mokuden, wood style. Mokuden, wood style. The man known as the god of ninja world, Kekkei Genkei of the master. With this Kekkei Genkei, Senju Hashirama suppressed the ninja world, persuaded Uchiha Madara, established Konoha together, and ended Sengoku. It can be said that the current situation in the villages of the ninja world is also like this. Seeing that Konoha gathers the power of all the families and becomes stronger and stronger, they must also hold together to keep warm. Now Gong Yi has mastered Mokuden, wood style. Doesn't that mean, Orochimaru, please? Gong Yi stepped into the room, and with a wave of his hand, a few knots of wood burst into flames from the hollow in the center of the room. It seems that you have reached a very high level as a master of Kaden, fire-style ninjutsu. Orochimaru sat down beside him, slightly surprised. All of this, thanks to the teaching you taught me at the beginning, I have avoided many detours. Orochimaru shook his head and said coldly, I didn't teach you so many things. As far as I know, you have also mastered Sage Mode, Jin Dun, if you add your Mokuden, wood style, and superb physique. Hard for me to imagine that in this world, who else will be your opponent? Gong Yi laughed and suddenly asked, what about pain? Click. The armrest of a wooden chair was directly crushed by Orochimaru. He said in surprise, you seem to know pain very well about Akatsuki, but you have never appeared in front of outside ninjas, and you actually know his name. Not only do I know his name, I also know his eyes. Gong Yi said leisurely, it seems that he knows everything in the world. Orochimaru was silent, and he found himself in front of Gong Yi. He seemed to become extremely passive. Strength is not as good, and even the knowledge that has always been arrogant is also inferior. Gong Yi rubbed his chin with his hand, let me think about it, you should have seen the eyes of the immortals, and then began to doubt the various legends of immortals, and then sought proof. So today, when you come to Kurigakure village, what you are doing should be the blood of the immortals of the Kagaya family. Orochimaru raised his head, what do you want? This clan is too stupid, what they are doing now is nothing more than self-destruction. But that, a young man with outstanding talent, I am somewhat interested. Could it be that you also took a fancy to him? Inside the house, the wind and snow were no longer there, the flames were crackling, but the chill was still deep. Orochimaru was tangled inside. His current body can indeed support it for a long time, but the potential of this body is not very good. After meeting Pain's Rinnegan, he became more and more interested in descendants. The Kagaya family is known as the blood of immortals, and its master Shikatsumiku, Dead Bone Pulse, is indeed powerful. To say that there is no interest in Kimimaro would be a lie. But Gong Yi said this now, it seems that if he robbed him, then Gong Yi would shoot unceremoniously. Gong Yi suddenly said, actually, that child has no effect on you. Amount. His talent is too powerful, but God has given you too much talent, and it will inevitably deprive you of something to balance everything. It seems to me that he will not live to the day of adulthood. You mean? Orochimaru hesitated and said tentatively, he may have a blood disease. So-called blood disease is Kekkei Genkei that is too powerful will often cause serious sequelae to the body. A very simple example can be given. The Uchiha clan. If this clan has outstanding talent and reaches the level of opening Mangekyo, they are basically already suffering from blood diseases. Every time Mangekyo is used, it gets closer and closer to losing its light. Unless you get the help of another pair Mangekyo to form an eternal Mangekyo, or blindness is inevitable. Gong Yi said lightly. It's not possible, but inevitable. That child must have a blood disease, and he may be able to break out. He showed strength beyond the limit of his age, but his blood disease was also a serious disease beyond his age. When I say he won't live to be an adult, I'm actually overestimating him. Then why do you want him? Unwilling, Orochimaru asked. Gong Yi spread his hands and looked at Orochimaru with a half-smile. Have you forgotten that when you cooperated with me, what did I do that moved you? Orochimaru suddenly realized. With Gong Yi crowning the medical ninjutsu of the ninja world, it is indeed possible to cure the child's blood disease. But it's only possible. Shaking his head, Orochimaru was slightly disappointed. It seemed that he was destined to return without success. Standing up, he was ready to leave. Wait. Orochimaru turned around suddenly. Snake Tongue looked at Gong Yi. Why, you want to keep me? Gong Yi shook his head. If I wanted to keep you, I did it when you left Konoha. Stop you, I think that maybe you and I will have an intersection in the future. After all, the ninja world is so small, and you and I are so dazzling. Thank you for your compliment. Leave a contact. A small purple snake emerged from Gong Yi's hand and swam towards Orochimaru. Orochimaru spread his hands and the snake entered his body. Not only that, Orochimaru also left a snake for Gong Yi. Actually, I'm curious, how did your sage mode come about? Want to meet? If it's not a battle of life and death, then I'd like to see it. No need, there is a good opportunity in front of you. Gong Yi let out a long laugh and walked out of the house. As he walked, the white light on his body gradually bloomed. The perfect sage mode, presented in front of Orochimaru. Gong Yi walked to the edge of the cliff and stepped forward. In Orochimaru's shock, Gong Yi actually floated in the void and suddenly headed towards the village of Kurigakure. This is Snake Sage Mode. Chapter 251. Come with me. Just after Gong Yi left, Gongling also quickly left the mountain and ran in the direction of Gong Yi. Speed is very fast, and the snowflakes can't even touch the body while running. Orochimaru tensed his face. Even a woman beside Gong Yi had such a strong strength. I am alone, and it seems that I should find an assistant. If Anko was still there, just beside me. Orochimaru took a deep breath, turned and walked the way he came. Behind him, the wooden house that Gong Yi had built before shrank inch by inch and gradually disappeared to the ground, as if nothing had happened. For some people, it seems that they haven't done anything meaningful in their life. Take Kimimaro, for example, squatting under a big tree, with a bone sword supporting him. In front of him, a dozen or so Kurigakure ninjas surrounded him step by step. Be careful, this kid killed a lot of us. Don't worry, he can't escape now. He killed my brother, 3220. Dead, I will kill him myself, dismantle his body, and cut out the bones. ... Hearing these cruel jokes, Kimimaro was unconscious. The blank eyes looked at the flower on the ground, and the snowflakes fell, hitting the petals and crumbling. Maybe if the snow is a little bigger, this flower will be covered and die. Just like myself, I will die here soon. Shoo! The wind whistled, the snow fluttered, and a handsome man appeared in the sky. Under its feet, a large swath of snow was blown away by it, leaving a field of grass covered. Kimimaro raised his head, only to see the thick back, but not his face. I can't let you kill the people I like. A group of Kurigakure ninjas stared blankly at Gong Yi. This man can actually fly in the sky. Gong Yi felt the feeling of soaring in the sky with nothing but the wind, and he was happy both physically and mentally. After he broke the limit of his body, the amount of chakra increased. At that time, he was already able to fly with the Golden Dun long sword. But in the final analysis, the Jinden long sword is only a form of chakra's change. Through the skill of mastering all dharmas, he gradually deepened his understanding after exploring the use of chakra. So far, he has been able to fly briefly in Sage mode. Sage Art Chakra, but no lower than Kekkei Genkei. Who are you? How dare you stop me Kurigakure doing things? Someone shouted loudly, and the ninja in their hands was ready to go. It's just that he didn't do anything when the companion next to him grabbed him. The voice of swallowing saliva continued to sound, and several ninjas stared at Gong Yi in fear. Deep Blue Devil. It's you, that demon, Konoha. With a few exclamations, the expressions of the other ninjas changed drastically. Some trembled, some pulled their legs. Do you recognize me? Gong Yi smiled slightly and borrowed one of his hands. A dozen hands suddenly stretched out on the ground, and the group of ninjas were caught off guard and pulled them directly into the ground. Even the low-level Doden, Earth-style ninjutsu, under the blessing of immortals, is not something these ninjas can resist. When they recognized Gong Yi, they lost their fighting spirit. Few people ran farther. However, Gong Yi didn't have any idea of chasing after them. When those people were about to leave the edge of the forest, a few big trees suddenly moved. The thick branches, in their terrified eyes, pierced their bodies directly. When everything was calm, Gong Yi slowly fell to the ground. Looking at Kimimaro, Gong Yi watched it carefully for a long time, then nodded. But he didn't say anything. Kimimaro opened his mouth to speak, but didn't know what to say. Until Gong Ling arrived here. Master, Kurigakure village is over there. And means that the Kagaya clan that has survived from the Sengoku period to the present will be completely destroyed. Gong Yi hummed and looked at Kimimaro. I have to say that the Kagaya family is born for fighting, and Kimimaro is the most peak fighting machine of this family. Even though he is only 7 years old, he has shown fighting skills before, and he is in danger in the face of more than a dozen siege ninjas. The undisturbed performance is enough to prove that his fighting talent is high. Recalling the original plot, Kimimaro killed 4 generations of Kazekage while he was still underage. Maybe Orochimaru, Kabuto's help, maybe a sneak attack, but a sneak attack is impossible. This young man tends to give full respect to enemies. Just like Little Lee, who was healed from a serious injury, he would also give Little Lee time to take medicine. What's your name? Gong Yi spoke lightly. Kimimaro replied blankly. Kimimaro, Kagaya Kimimaro. Kimimaro, is there a bone in a shark? Gong Yi smiled slightly. It's a nice name, it sounds fierce. Kimimaro said in a low voice, no matter how good a name is, it doesn't make any sense. Then what do you think makes sense? I don't know. Perhaps discussing the meaning of life with children is a ridiculous thing in itself. Gong Yi stopped the topic, but said lightly, people have no meaning in themselves, and there is no meaning in living. But people can find their meaning when they live. Come with me. Kimimaro raised his head suddenly. You really need me? Gong Yi turned around and said without looking back, you can follow me and dedicate everything for me as your meaning. After saying that, Gong Yi just leaves slowly. Gong Ling glanced at Kimimaro curiously, and followed behind Gong Yi. Kimimaro's eyes lit up, and he seemed to see light in the dark night when the fire disappeared. Standing up, the bone sword retracted his body, he took heavy and tired steps, and ran to catch up with Gong Yi. Master, he's following. Gong Ling said softly. Gong Yi nodded, stopped, and Kimimaro walked up to Gong Yi panting. What should I call you? Gong Yi pointed at Gong Ling. You can be like her and respect me as master. Master. Gong Yi smiled and reached out and touched Kimimaro's head. A strange energy poured into Kimimaro's body. In Kimimaro's surprised eyes, he seemed to feel the wound on his body, the disappearing chakra, recovering quickly. This effect is really a rejuvenation technique. In his spare time, Gong Yi not only upgraded his gravity technique, but also upgraded his rejuvenation technique. Logically, the upgraded version of rejuvenation should be creation regeneration. But the cooldown of creation regeneration once every 10 years prevents this route. After Gong Yi experimented, he found that the upgraded version of rejuvenation, like gravity, can be 1.6 use it on others. Of course, the effect is reduced a lot. However, Kimimaro is very young now, and the weakened version of rejuvenation is enough. His body, Kimimaro felt himself back to his original state, and even felt a little better. This is probably his talent. Fighting, fight after fight, can make his strength become stronger and stronger. The master of the body, the understanding of Shikatsumiku, dead bone pulse, will continue to deepen. Of course, if there is no Gongyi, the speed of this strengthening will be faster and faster, but the distance to death will also be getting closer and closer. At the pass away from the Kurigakure village, Gongyi stopped. A beautiful woman in blue clothes with a head wine yuhi-colored hair stopped him. Something that brought. Here you are. Terumi handed a bunch of copied ninjutsu scrolls to Gongling, and then his eyes fell on Kimimaro on Gongyi's left. This boy. Chapter 252. Kimimaro's future. There is no doubt that white hair, double yuhi dots between the eyebrows, coupled with the unique clothing of the Kagaya family. This boy is the ninja of the family that started the war in the village just now. Terumi took a deep breath. I can't let you take him away. Gongyi raised his eyebrows. What did you say? I said I can't let you take him. Terumi gathered up her courage and said firmly, he is a ninja of the Kagaya clan, and the Kagaya clan has just been destroyed by us. Weeds must be rooted out. What did you say? Terumi's expression turned pale. Looking at Gongyi, who was full of aura, she was unable to advance or retreat for a while. Gongyi shook his head, put away his aura, and walked slowly past her side. Pop! The dazzling buttocks burst into dazzling waves. Gongyi waved his hand. Woman, sometimes you should know how to be sensible. You have to be with me, but you can't get any benefits. Terumi stood there dumbfounded, and after a while, suddenly clutched her buttocks. Soul. On the way back to the village, Gongyi was not walking fast. On the way, Gongyi gave Kimimaro a homeopathic treatment. Hemorrhagic disease is a disease that exists hidden in the blood vessels. Patients themselves do not know, often need to wait until the attack, to find out. It's as if Fugaku didn't know about blood disease before, but when he used Mangekyo 29 years later, he discovered the possibility of blindness in his eyes. Gongyi used medical ninjutsu and rejuvenation to treat Kimimaro. Eliminating some of the previous symptoms, he believes that as long as he treats Kimimaro every other year, his blood disease will be suppressed and cannot be attacked. Shouldn't be difficult to live past the age of 16. Gongyi is so devoted to Kimimaro because he values his talent. Genius who has reached the quasi-cage level at the age of 15. If you train him well, I believe that his strength will exceed expectations. However, unlike teaching Hyuga Neji, Kimimaro is 7 years old and past the age of laying foundations. What Gongyi taught him was naturally different. The 8 inner gates. This is what Gongyi intends to teach Kimimaro. Gongyi is looking forward to how Kagaya Kimimaro, who opens the last gate of the 8 inner gates and is carrying Shikatsumiku, dead bone pulse, will shine. Compared to Might Guy, Gongyi returned to Konoha after a month. Standing in the lively village of Konoha, Kimimaro watched in amazement. The children were running around laughing and joking, and the villagers greeted each other, where they were doing business, calling and drinking. Everything is completely different from the icy village of Kurigakure. This. Gongyi rubbed Kimimaro's white hair and smiled slightly. Here you will have a great time and make warm friends because this is Konoha. Kimimaro's small eyes were full of anticipation, but he pulled Gongyi's clothes. Master, I want to be more loyal to you. Gongyi looked at these eyes with satisfaction. It's hard for a child's eyes to hide things. The kid Kimimaro is actually like a blank sheet of paper, okay. Who makes the first stroke can write. In the original book, he followed Orochimaru, but he was afraid of being abandoned by Orochimaru, and he also dedicated his life. This time, I will write the first book about my life in Kimimaro. Is no doubt about his loyalty. You are too young and too weak to do anything for me. Find you a place to live first. Gong Yi didn't plan to let Kimimaro live with him like Gong Ling. Gong Ling's situation is different. She is a three-tailed Jinchuriki, column force, and once had the identity of Nohara Rin. With Gong Ling outside, Gong Yi simply said, "Don't worry." But Kimimaro is different. He comes from the village of Kurigakure and was picked up by himself. Gong Yi will arrange him to live in the village, let him contact the Konoha villagers, make friends in the village, and take root here. Gong Yi wants people who are loyal to himself, and also have feelings for Konoha. The former is the most important, the latter is second. It didn't take much time. Gong Yi just chose a place for Kimimaro. Bought 2 rooms for the money. Well, 2. One is Kimimaro's and the other is for Uzumaki Naruto. Once Kimimaro is settled, ninjas will come to you. Dean Gong Yi, Lord Hokage, please. Gong Yi nodded, thinking to himself, Sarutobi Hiruzen's speed is fast. He knew very well that when he went to the land of water and swaggered around in the city, there would definitely be intelligence ninjas from all over the world who would know about it. Here in Konoha, you will definitely find it. When he came back, he also brought an orphan of the Kagaya clan. This kind of thing, as a Hokage, you must ask. He is really strong now, and he even said that everyone should give him some face. But he's still part of Konoha after all, and Hokage has the right to ask him things. Hokage office Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his head and looked at Gong Yi with mixed emotions. Why did you go to the land of water? Gong Yi chuckled. Avoid some people and bring back one. Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart moved. Gong Yi's words, avoiding some people, made his mind come alive. Some time ago, when the villagers in the village called for Gong Yi to succeed Hokage, the ninja from other families also frequently visited Gong Yi. At this time, Gong Yi should avoid these people when he goes out. So his thoughts on this place of Hokage, do you want it or not? You are willing to give? Gong Yi asked back. Sarutobi Hiruzen said solemnly, it doesn't matter whether you are willing or not, I have handed it over once. With your dedication to the village and the respect the villagers have for you, you are fully qualified to serve as the 5th generation Hokage. Gong Yi raised his brows lightly, but he did not expect this old man to be so open-minded. However, that's probably the power of Hokage. With both hands on his back, Gong Yi paced to the window overlooking the lively Konoha village. You sighed. If I take office as Hokage and do something that is not what you want, what will happen to you then? Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned. He did not expect that Gong Yi would ask such a question so bluntly. The wrinkled face was cloudy. Gong Yi whispered, probably you will stand up to stop me. With the prestige of your 3 generations of Hokage, it may also affect other people. This situation is not what I want to see. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face changed slightly. What Gong Yi meant by these words was that Gong Yi didn't believe in himself. Other words, as long as he is alive, Gong Yi will guard against himself. Forget it, I will tell you directly. Now this Konoha, for me, is of no use. Gong Yi turned around and stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen with exquisite eyes. So, don't try to tempt me with the Hokage position. If I want, just reach out. Are you a Hokage who has been in charge of many years, and has much more experience in managing the village than me, a young man? You can continue to manage, but it's best not to disturb me. After Gong Yi finished speaking, he walked away. From beginning to end, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not mention Kimimaro's identity disposal. Perhaps, he has acquiesced. A few days later, Kimimaro's relevant identity registration work, under Gong Yi's watch, is completed. From this moment on, Kimimaro will no longer be a ninja in Kurigakure village, nor a missing nin. He will be a Konoha ninja. Looking up at the Konoha ninja school in the distance, Gong Yi points to Kimimaro. You'll be in there after a month of spring. Kimimaro asked curiously, will I learn something great there? No. Ah. Kimimaro was a little disappointed. But there, you can learn the most basic knowledge as a ninja, that's what you lack. And I will also have a task, which will be handed over to you later. Kimimaro blinked, looking forward to the task his master said more than the former. Chapter 253. Do you have a dream? After coming back, Gongyi. Time goes by, people also know that Lord Gongyi doesn't seem to value the position of Hokage very much. This made the big families who had done their best before feel a little uncomfortable. That kind of feeling, a little hate that iron is not steel, or a kind of, a punch into cotton is bad. It's just that no one dared to complain, most of them whispered a few words to themselves, forget it. A long time since coming to Japan. It's just that Fugaku smelled a different scent in the Uchiha clan. It seems that Gongyi is not very important to Konoha. In his opinion, Gongyi's strength has increased greatly, but Konoha is a drag on him. Faintly, some thoughts began to come alive. On this day, winter has passed, and early spring has appeared. The gate of Konoha Ninja School is full of people. It's another year of freshmen entering the school. Gongyi appeared in front of everyone after a long time. Beside him, stood two teenagers. One wears the family clothes of the Hyuga clan, and the other wears an off-white robe. Gongyi smiled at the parents of the students who came over, and his eyes gradually fell on the two people beside him. Neji, this time you enter the school, the teacher has only one request for you. Neji's eyes lit up, he rarely heard what teacher Gongyi asked him. Chief. Gongyi said lightly, the teacher was the head of the school back then, no matter if he was a senior or someone of the same level, he was no match for the teacher. As my disciple, you must do this too. Teacher, rest assured, I will definitely work hard to become the chief. Chief is, that year, the most powerful student. And Gongyi's request for Hyuga Neji is just like he was back then, the strongest in the whole school. Hyuga Neji in the original book is the absolute genius who overwhelms the whole school. This time, having been trained by Gongyi for a year, the foundation is very solid. In terms of physical skills, Gongyi has taught him everything, whether it is Gangquan or Gentle Fist, Neji is now a very good master. A while ago, Gongyi secretly modified Neji's spell on the caged bird. This technique was perfected, it was. Gongyi came forward to do it. Easy for him to modify it. The Byakugan of the Hyuga clan doesn't care if they are separated from the main clan. Because of the caged bird, Byakugan, who is divided into family members, has a dead end. After Gongyi's modification, Neji does not have this defect. It can be said that the 5-year-old Neji already has the foundation to become a top powerhouse. How far he can reach in the future depends on his next development. As for Kimimaro looked at Hyuga Neji with a little disdain, he was going to go to school too. Neji's strength is much weaker than him. With himself, how can Neji be the head of the school? The master thinks that Neji will become stronger later. Gongyi's voice sounded again, and Kimimaro listened respectfully. Kimimaro, after you enter the school, study with peace of mind. After school, you can go to my place with Neji and receive instruction. Besides, in school, you are not allowed to take action except in the actual combat training class in the class. Kimimaro is puzzled, he is already 7 years old, and Neji, who is 5 years old, will not be in the same class. If he is not allowed to shoot, then he will hand over the chief to Neji, but he will not disobey Gongyi's orders. Yes, and lowered his eyebrows. Neji, who hasn't experienced too many things, naturally doesn't know this, looking at the school expectantly. When the school gate opened, Gongyi smiled and waved. Go. 2 boys entered the ninja school together. Kimimaro entered the 3rd grade directly, and Gongyi has already completed his admission procedures. There is no need for Gongyi to worry about Neji's side. His father, Hyuga Hazashi, is already by his side, waiting for a long time. I nodded to Hyuga Hazashi and went to another place. Are you ready? Well, it's already packed, it's just. Wei turned her head to look outside the room, and an orange figure hurriedly hid to the side. Naruto, I am still a little worried. Aili said reluctantly, today she is going to pack up and move in with Gongyi. But as soon as she left, Naruto was truly alone. Gongyi said indifferently, young eagles will not be able to soar in the sky without the protection of their parents' wings. We are not Naruto's parents, but we have fulfilled our parental responsibilities. Now let him live independently, but also let him get used to this environment as soon as possible. After all, we can't take care of him forever. Wei forced a smile, still a little uneasy. Gongyi shook his head and walked outside the door. And he need to release his consciousness at all, he found out, Uzumaki Naruto, who was secretly hiding behind the wall. Silently walking to Naruto, the child was squatting on the ground, fiddling with the weeds. Singer. Naruto raised his head suddenly, looked at the tall Gongyi, pursed his lips, was about to cry but forcibly endured it. Seeing his aggrieved look, Gongyi couldn't help but sigh. Are you being too cruel? He squatted down, like Naruto, squatting in the corner of the wall. Reaching out his hand to rub Naruto's head, Naruto tilted his head and ducked. Gongyi's hand froze in the air, and finally pulled it back. Do you hate me? Naruto opened his blue eyes and looked at Gongyi. Then he lowered his head again. Heart of the child, there is resentment, especially for letting him leave the aunt who has taken care of him for 4 years. Deep down, he actually regarded Ariyi as his mother, and regarded Gongyi, who often came to visit him and play with him, as his father. Now his father and mother want to leave him and let him live alone. Even in the ninja world, this kind of precocious child, even Kakashi 5 or 6 years old, went to the battlefield at the age of 5, and it was a little sad. Gongyi shook his head and said suddenly, do you know why Uncle Gongyi is so respected by the villagers? Naruto whispered, yes, they all say that you have done a lot of great things and are a great hero. That's why they respect you. Then do you know, uncle, where I am from, and how did I do all this? Naruto opened his mouth, puzzled. Gongyi smiled and talked about the past. Once I was an orphan, not even an orphan of Konoha, just a Konoha ninja who brought me back from outside, an orphan who grew up in an orphanage. When I was 4 years old, I left the orphanage and lived alone. Naruto opened his mouth wide, he had never heard anyone mention these things. Uncle Gongyi, who is sometimes strict with himself, and sometimes fond of him, turned out to be an orphan. Isn't this worse than himself? Anyway, since he was a child, he was taken care of by Aunt Hilly and Uncle Gongyi. After the age of 5, go to school and start learning about ninjas. At that time I was very hard. No one taught me the knowledge of ninjutsu, I just practiced physique with Tenten. Later, as the head of the school, I graduated early. Participate in the mission and was chased by Jonin for the first time. Oh, and in that war, there are now 4 generations of Kazekage. I remember that in that battle, my captain lost a hand. You should know my captain, who is the one-armed shop owner who sells ninja gear in a street weapon shop. Naruto nodded sharply, Uncle Iga, he often invites me to eat. It turns out that he was Uncle's former captain. Having said this, Naruto realized that his uncle had experienced this kind of danger before. However, what Gongyi said next made him know that that kind of danger is actually very light. A simple escort mission was besieged by hundreds of ninjas. A dozen people, only 5 survived, and even the uncle was seriously injured. With Sunagakure village is even more dangerous, and I almost can't return to the village. Subsequent battles were more terrifying than ever. Even the uncle entered the village of Kurigakure and fought with big men like the 3 generations of Mizukage to life and death. Eri stood behind the corner, and when she heard these words, she turned her back. Wipe the corners of your eyes with your hands. She is the one who has witnessed these things with her own eyes, and also participated in the treatment of Gong Yi in the hospital. Gong Yi has not been easy in these years, she sees it better than anyone else. Well, that's what happened, she fell in love with Gong Yi little by little, and fell in love with this man who was 9 years younger than her. Nowadays, the dialogue between Gong Yi and Naruto seems to be the communication between a father and a son. It took a long time for Gong Yi to finish saying this. The past. He smiled slightly, very free and easy, as if these things were like floating clouds to him. A while ago, when you were playing in the village, did you hear anything about your uncle? Naruto is still immersed in Gong Yi's exciting but wonderful ninja career. The previous grievances disappeared without knowing it, but instead became relish. Hear Gong Yi's question. He nodded excitedly. I heard many uncles and aunts, grandparents say, they want you to be Hokage. Uncle, can you really be Hokage? Gong Yi asked back, do you think uncle is qualified to be a Hokage? Definitely, uncle is so powerful and has done so much for the village. If you can't be Hokage, who can? Naruto stood up, clenched his fists, and said all this excitedly. Seems that Gong Yi became Hokage, which is a very happy thing for him. The standing Naruto is almost as tall as the half-squatting Gong Yi. Gong Yi looked at the lively Naruto and suddenly asked, what about you, Naruto, do you have any dreams? Chapter 254. Challenge Kimimaro, 3rd. Naruto was stunned. It seems too early for such a young child to talk about dreams. But Gong Yi still asked. Just like in the previous life in Washa, every child entering kindergarten, the first grade of primary school, the teacher often asks him what his dreams are. Children's answers will change with the trend of the times. Teachers, scientists, astronauts, big stars, high officials, and rich people in the back. Ninja World, Konoha Village, these children should also have dreams. Naruto frowned and thought for a long time. Then he said cautiously, my dream, can it be to become a Hokage? Gong Yi smiled lightly, dreams should be assertive and speak out loudly instead of asking people what their dreams can be. Naruto hummed and shouted loudly, then my dream is to become a Hokage. Gong Yi stood up satisfied, reached out and rubbed Naruto's short blonde hair. To be a Hokage, you have to have the courage to go through everything your uncle has gone through. Only then can you be recognized by the rest of the village and become a Hokage. Naruto's eyes twinkled, I will definitely become Hokage and let everyone recognize me. Children are actually more sensitive than anyone else. Naruto Uzumaki could feel it. Although the villagers were polite to him, they were all alienated from him. He didn't know why, but occasionally people would scold him and hate him. Even some people who seem to be good to him on the surface are more than 320 because of Uncle Gong Yi. He wants to be Hokage and let everyone in the village recognize him, it's a normal idea. Gong Yi did not correct his understanding. People who are recognized by the villagers can become Hokage, not Hokage can be recognized. Naruto is too young to understand these things. But when he is older and has experienced a lot, he will naturally understand. So you live alone, be strong. Learn to be independent. This is a road to the strong, and most of the strong are lonely. Because the weak cannot understand what the strong have experienced. Naruto nodded ignorantly, and had some expectations for the next life alone. After calming Naruto, Gong Yi breathed a sigh of relief. He considers himself to be interested enough for Namikaze Minato, taking care of Naruto for so many years. His childhood was also considered a stable and comfortable life, at least better than his own. Coming to Hilly's side, Gong Yi easily picked up a few big boxes. Let's go. Ariyi looked behind him. Naruto was waving to them with a smile. Don't worry, although you moved to my place, you still have to work in the hospital every day. I will accompany you to see Naruto. Boom. Several large boxes were placed on the ground, making a dull sound. Wei Li walked around the house happily, this will be where she will live for the rest of her life. As for the so-called marriage status, she didn't care. Since she chose to follow Gong Yi, she will follow Gong Yi's ideas in many things. A beautiful young woman came in from the door, and Wei Li blinked. This is Gong Ling. Gong Yi introduced, she has been with me all these years, and will live with us in the future. Eri Yi nodded to Gong Ling generously, Sakurai, please give me more advice in the future. Gong Ling glanced at Aili, opened her mouth, found that she didn't know what to say, and hurriedly looked at Gong Yi. You can call her sister, that's what I called her back then. Gong Yi chuckled. Sister. Gong Ling let out a long sigh of relief, and for some reason, she was actually a little nervous. There is no bloody Shira Field sitcom. The first meeting between the two was unusually gentle. Eri is like this by nature, while Gong Ling put herself in a very low position. Gong Yi heaved a sigh of relief as he watched Gong Ling put things into the room for Wei Li. In this way, the days to come will be much more comfortable. Every day, you only need to study ninjutsu, teach your apprentices, and enjoy the warm fragrance of nephrite jade. Hokage now, there are naturally benefits of not using Hokage. That is plenty of time. Over the years, I have been in a tense state all the time. If it goes on like this, sooner or later something will happen. The last time I read the Book of Seals, I went crazy. He didn't want this to happen again. Take this time to adjust your mood. As for the progress of strength, Gong Yi is rather optimistic now. The top skill of mastering the Dharma, coupled with the small Ten-Tails Jinchuriki column force plan he has been carrying out, is enough to deal with the Fourth Ninja War in the future. Gong Yi has been pondering since he acquired the ability to rule all Dharmas. Of mastering all the Dharmas is undoubtedly to speed up the understanding of all kinds of ninjutsu, even the ninjutsu that Gong Yi is not friendly with, he can also master all the Dharmas quickly. However, this also takes some time. Just now, I have obtained most of the Suiten water-style ninjutsu in Kurigakure village. Gong Yi tried to study it, and when the master is almost the same, he will be able to teach Gong Ling. In addition, Gong Yi is also in the research state for the second seed of consciousness. In the process of becoming stronger, divine refinement has undoubtedly provided great help. Now that the second divine consciousness seed has been born for a long time, Gong Yi has gradually found some uses. Su Zanming, who cracked Uchiha Fugaku before, is one of the magic uses. The second seed of consciousness does not have the imprint of ninjutsu, so it can achieve instant effect. However, it is possible to form an independent Gong Yi personality. Demonic illusion, crack. For the ninja world, the easiest thing is to have someone else help him remove. For example, when you are fighting, your companions help you. Or in the case of the human Jinchuriki column force, hit the demonic illusion, the will of the tailed beast in the body, help the human Jinchuriki column force release. And the second seed of divine consciousness has the same magical effect. The will and thinking are all their own, but they can exist independently. Gong Yi thought of the magical effect of the seed of divine consciousness, and his eyes could not help but flicker. He has a very bold conjecture. Ninja schools courses, for ordinary people, it is more difficult to master. But for a genius, it's nothing more than that. Hyuga Neji was lying on the railing of the corridor, staring at the playground boredly. Who pass by him often talk in a low voice after passing by. Is he, Hyuga Neji? You just entered school this year. Don't look at his short time in school, but in just 3 months, he has challenged all the seniors. Now, he is the chief student of our school. Wow, that's awesome. ... Neji smacked his lips, feeling a little bored. For him, the things taught in school cannot be more basic. This feeling is what he experienced after he started to study these courses. The things that teacher Gong Yi taught him were not very advanced. At that time, he still felt that the teacher was stingy and was unwilling to teach himself good things. But now that I think about it, the teacher is laying the foundation for himself. Almost from the first day of extracting chakra, Hyuga Neji found that his chakra volume was several times that of his peers. No one is his opponent at all. It seems that the goal the teacher set for me is not too difficult. Hyuga Neji was a little puzzled, and his eyes suddenly fell on the playground. At this time, it was the class that was a year higher than them who were conducting practical training sessions. And Kimimaro, it's inside. Neji's mind moved, and Byakugan suddenly opened up. Under his watch, Kimimaro played against his classmates and easily defeated each other. Judging from the few short moves, Kimimaro's physical skills are actually stronger than his own. Neji was shocked. Even though Kimimaro was just a kid picked up by the teacher from outside, how could he be so strong? Jingle. The school bell rang. Neji and Kimimaro were walking on the way to Gongyi's house. When he was about to reach the palace, Neji stopped suddenly. Kimimaro, I'm going to challenge you. Chapter 255. Incarnation outside the body. Kimimaro looked at him indifferently. Until now, Kimimaro still hasn't learned how to make friends. As for Hyuga Neji, he just treats him as the master's disciple. Faced with the challenge, Kimimaro wanted to refuse. Hyuga Neji immediately said, I remember the teacher's request to you that you see and shoot in school. Now, not at school. After saying that, Hyuga Neji didn't hesitate and took up a fighting stance. Kimimaro frowned, then nodded. Come on, I want to know too, what did you learn from the teacher? Battle is about to start. The next moment, the two quickly rushed towards each other. Drink. Neji punched out, small body, but the momentum is indomitable. Fierce and domineering. Kimimaro parried with one hand, his palm trembled, and there was a little pain. This is the Gangquan that my teacher taught me. Neji laughed and swept his left leg, rolling up a large leaf. Kimimaro stepped forward without fear. Dang! Neji abruptly backed away like steel clattering. He looked at Kimimaro in shock, and on Kimimaro's leg, a bone appeared, as hard as iron. His own punches and kicks didn't take advantage of him in the slightest. Heart! Neji realized that Kimimaro is definitely better than the kid in the school. Not holding back, Neji attacked again. However, this time, his attack had a different flavor. When Kimimaro parried Neji's attack again, Neji's figure suddenly changed, and his palms circled and slapped Kimimaro's back. Faintly, Neji has been able to smoothly switch between the Konoha Gangquan style and the Hyuga gentle fist method. Kimimaro was caught off guard and suffered a small loss. A few steps staggeringly, Kimimaro's face became more and more icy. He can't even win the master's disciple, then there is no point in serving the master. The next attack, Kimimaro no longer passively defends, but turns to active attack. The Kagaya family has no tradition of only defending and not attacking. Whoosh! Kimimaro ran fast. His speed was even faster than Neji. Boom! Kimimaro suddenly stopped, punched out, and Neji quickly blocked. Kimimaro attacks again, Neji blocks again. Seemed that Neji was taking it easy, but in fact, he was beaten by the whole body. Between fists and legs, Kimimaro, who has experienced battles, can almost instantly perceive Neji's defensive flaws. Just a few more hits and Neji will collapse. Neji bit Kiba, took a slap and hurriedly backed away. Hand seal with both hands, Byakugan opens. Is this the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan? Kimimaro said coldly. Hyuga Neji took a deep breath. After turning on Byakugan, I can see your movements clearly, you will not be my opponent. Kimimaro shook his head, a bone sword stretched out from his hand with a cold light. You have Byakugan, I have my abilities too. Hyuga Neji frowned. This Kimimaro can actually manipulate bones to fight. On his leg just now, and the bone sword in his hand now, could it be that other parts of him can also use the bone like this? It seems that it is not easy to win him by relying solely on physical skills. But if you want to use ninjutsu in this battle, from the very beginning, both sides tacitly agreed not to use ninjutsu, and they fell behind. Just when he was embarrassed, a familiar voice entered his ears. Neji hurriedly lowered her head and closed it. Across from him, Kimimaro also retracted the bone and looked. Eyes, walked towards Gong Yi's house. Gong Yi looked at Neji and Kimimaro with an ancient expression like a piece of wood. These two are undoubtedly the top talents in their respective clans. And they have mastered the mighty Kekkei Genkei, Byakugan, Shikatsumyaku, Dead Bone Pulse. Carefully, if you push up countless generations, they should actually be relatives, or at least cousins. After all, the Hyuga family and the Kagaya family are all branches of the Otsutsuki family. But for now, Gong Yi said lightly, Neji, you are not Kimimaro's opponent yet. Hyuga Neji was not convinced, bit Kiba and said, if you don't really try your best to fight, you can't tell the outcome. Gong Yi was not annoyed, and ordered Kimimaro, show your Shikatsumyaku, Dead Bone Pulse, as much as possible. Kimimaro hummed, looked solemn, and took off his coat. Neji looked at this scene puzzled, showed his ability, why did he take off his clothes, but the next moment, he opened his mouth in surprise. Kai, dense bones, protruding from Kimimaro's chest, arms, back, and even forehead. Is as hideous as a hedgehog, and it makes people feel chills when they look at it. I can control my bones to fight, this is my ability. Kimimaro explained lightly. Neji looked away and bowed his head bitterly. No wonder the teacher said that his strongest ability right now is taijutsu, but if Kimimaro fights him in this state, how could he possibly beat him? Neji, you don't have to be discouraged. Kimimaro is 2 years older than you, and his master is better than you for the power of Kekkei Genkei. And he fought and even killed people. Gong Yi said lightly, and in fact it was. Kimimaro can kill the current Hyuga Neji quickly without any scruples. But you have my guidance, as long as you don't slack off, keep working hard. Is also a chance to defeat Kimimaro. Hyuga Neji raised his head and looked at Gong Yi excitedly, really? Kimimaro stood aside, disapproving. He thought, as long as you Hyuga Neji will improve, why can't I? Gong Yi ignored Kimimaro's thoughts and said to Neji, of course. A plan. Planning. Neji was puzzled. Gong Yi said softly, ninjas can't be perfect at all decathlons, there are always good and bad things. Everything can be, nothing is strong. Better to specialize in one and reach the peak. At the back of the courtyard, Ariri and Gong Ling, who had gotten off work, burst into laughter when they heard these words. Obvious that Gong Yi can do anything, and he still says such things. Ninjutsu, demonic illusion, and taijutsu. These are the 3 fundamentals of ninja fighting skills. If you reach the peak of a certain skill, you can be called a strong man. Have you thought about which way you want to go? Hyuga Neji frowned. For him, with a large amount of chakra, taking the road of ninjutsu is undoubtedly the easiest. But with Byakugan, on the road of demonic illusion, there is also a lot to do. Not to mention physical skills, any Hyuga tribe, no matter whether it is a branch or main clan, he can be regarded as a good physique master. Gong Yi looked at him and said indifferently, is it difficult to choose? I don't care. Whichever path you choose, the teacher can teach you the corresponding things. Neji raised his head abruptly, no, I've made a decision. I'm going to go the way of taijutsu. Reason. Hyuga Neji looked at Kimimaro, who was indifferent and disdainful, and clenched his fists and said, I will use Teishu to defeat him. Gong Yi said slowly, physical skills are not that simple, and it is even said that among these 3 paths, cultivating physical skills is the most difficult. You have laid the foundation for these years, and you should also realize it. Reach a high level in physical skills, you cannot do it without accumulated efforts. Neji bowed respectfully. Please teach me, teacher. Gong Yi grinned stiffly, yes. Today, I'll teach you the first lesson, learn how to be beaten. Om! An invisible wave fell on Neji. It was the familiar gravity that doubled, and Neji only felt that his body was much heavier, and his steps slowed down. Kimimaro, fight him and don't keep your hands. The 5-year-old Neji is no match for Kimimaro in physique. Now that Gongyi has applied gravity, that's even worse. Kimimaro also doesn't show mercy to his opponent, he only knows to follow the master's orders. Moved, he attacked Neji. Gongyi sat on the steps indifferently, and said indifferently, Neji, if you hold on for 30 seconds, you will be successful. Neji bit Kiba, yes. In the depths of the house, a man shook his head and smiled. Neji can practice against Kimimaro at such a young age, and his strength will only increase faster and faster. As for the heavy fighting, which will cause Neji to be injured, Gongyi is not very worried. Anyway, with him, as long as he wasn't killed on the spot, he could be rescued. If someone is here, they will be shocked when they see this person. This person turned out to be Gongyi, and there was another Gongyi outside. Gongyi lowered his head and studied a corpse, the corpse of a ninja who had just died. With the help of the Mokuden wood-style clone and the clone created by my divine consciousness seed, it is indeed much stronger than the ordinary shadow clone. However, this is far from the incarnation of the body I imagined. Gongyi's eyes were full of light. What he wanted was an external avatar who could truly act on his own, instead of a fragile shadow clone. If it can be successful, then the next plan you have to do will be much more convenient. Chapter 256. The Alliance of Wood Mist. Konoha 52 years. Following the previous year, the Konoha Dark Blue Demon defeated the Kumogakure force on the battlefield, defeated the 4th generation Reikage, and killed Killer Bee Jinchuriki column force. This year has been much quieter than usual. This pond-like tranquility occasionally produces a few waves. For example, the war-torn Kurigakure village has unveiled the mysterious veil for the first time, facing all countries in the ninja world. Under the veil, is the brand-new 5th generation Mizukage Terumi Mei. A woman's wealth, on the shadow of a village, the outside world is talking about one after another. Most people are not optimistic about Terumi Mei's ability. After all, this woman is so delicate, beautiful and, most importantly, young. However, Terumi Mei changed everyone's opinion through 3 things. The first is to suppress and destroy the 2 rebel families of Kagaya and Mizuki. In these 2 battles, Terumi Mei showed a powerful and terrifying strength. Yoden, lava style. Fuden, vapor style. The 2 Kekkei Genkei, combined with the skillful Suiten, water style ninjutsu, have leapt into the category of top powerhouses. Even if it is the 3 generations of Soil, 3220, who have been famous for many years. Shadow Onoki, the 3rd generation of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, did not dare to underestimate Terumi Mei. The second thing is that Terumi Mei personally went to the capital of the country of water, had a chat in the court, and finally won the trust of the daimyo. The daimyo of the land of water is willing to fully support Terumi Mei, rebuild Kurigakure village, and provide funds to strengthen Kurigakure village. You know, although the village and the country are interdependent, it does not mean that the country will fully support the village. Just like the village of Sunagakure, the 4th generation of Kazekage Rasa, did not have the full support of the daimyo of the Land of Winds. Forcing Rasa to let the village take the ninja elite training route, and dare not expand the number of ninjas on a large scale. After all, without the support of the daimyo, they would not have enough financial resources. Some would say task rewards. But they forgot that at the beginning of the Third World War, when Sunagakure lost to Konoha, 1/3 of the missions were divided. Although the contract was later torn up, they attacked Konoha with Iwagakure, but once Iwagakure was defeated, the contract they tore up could only be continued. In fact, not only Sunagakure village, Kumogakure village is in a bad situation now. 3 consecutive defeats to Iwagakure village and Konoha, and the loss of 3 generations of Reikage, Killer Bee, Jinchuriki column force, and Yatai Niyugi. of Thunder also doesn't trust the fourth-generation Reikage. Terumi Mei's ability to gain the trust of the daimyo of the Land of Water and get enough support shows that this person's political wisdom is also extraordinary. A person with great strength and enough political wisdom, no matter what she is a woman or not, she is enough to hold the position of Mizukage. And Terumi Mei is lifting the blockade of Kurigakure village, and facing the third thing in the world. It also made countless people in an uproar. Kurigakure village wants to establish a peaceful exchange relationship with Konoha village. As soon as this news came out, everyone's eyes fell on the ground. Joke. Konoha village is mostly to blame for the decline of Kurigakure village. If it wasn't for Konoha who killed the previous generation of ninja swords, 7 people and 7 people, if it wasn't for the Deep Blue Demon who seriously injured the third generation of Mizukage Sujido Sujidori, the village of Kurigakure is not necessarily defeated by the village of Iwagakure. Similarly, the Dark Blue Demons invaded the village of Kurigakure, beheading the Jinchuriki column force of the Six-Tailed Man, releasing the Six Tails, and causing the village of Kurigakure to suffer a blow not seen in decades. All these things, Kurigakure village can actually hate and take the initiative to release goodwill to Konoha. It can be said that everyone is stunned. However, Terumi Mei did so, and even persuaded the senior management of the village and many family forces in the village. Facing Terumi Mei, Konoha was not indifferent to the news. Through the daimyo of the Land of Fire, the wish of Konoha was handed over to the Land of Water. In order to show respect for Konoha, Terumi Mei decided to leave the village after the new year, and took a visit to Konoha village. This move also made countless forces who paid attention to this matter admire Terumi Mei. It's said that the emperor does not live in danger. Terumi Mei, as Mizukage, went to Konoha in person. This person is very courageous and admirable. You know, Konoha village has such existences as Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Dark Blue Devil, and Gongyi. Terumi Mei went there personally, and if Konoha went back on his word, Terumi Mei would not be able to get out of Konoha village at all. But Terumi Mei just did it. Even with great fanfare, he brought the officials of the Country of Water and the village of Kurigakure to visit, from the original route of the Country of Vortex, all the way to the hinterland of the Country of Fire, Konoha village. She is determined to establish peaceful relations between the village of Kurigakure and Konoha. In Terumi Mei's view, Konoha is not scary, it is the man who is scary. If the village of Kurigakure is still hanging overseas so alone, sooner or later, it will have to face that man. Now that I have a good relationship with Konoha, it can be considered a rainy day. Terumi Mei has this kind of determination, and Sarutobi Hiruzen will naturally not ignore it. First direct contact between the two ninja villages since the Five Shadows Conference was held in Senju Hashirama at the end of Sengoku. Of course, you must give the other party the highest welcome specification. Sarutobi Hiruzen directly sent a grand greeting team. In this team, there are Sarutobi Hiruzen's eldest son Sarutobi Aster and his wife, Tenten Jonin, and more than 30 chunin. It can be said that compared to establishing diplomatic relations with Sunagakure, this time Terumi Mei came in person, and both sides gave each other enough face. The Land of Rain. 48 years from Konoha, 5 years have passed. In these 5 years, Akatsuki was destroyed under the rule of Hanzo of the Salamander, controlling the village of Omegakure, and even the daimyo of the Land of Rain has been turned into a puppet by Akatsuki Master for external communication. On this day, a man with a shark face walked towards the tallest tower in the country with a cold expression. There is the leader of Akatsuki, where pain is. When the ghost shark arrives, he will see it at first sight. When it came to a young man with orange hair, Ghost Shark, what is the matter with me all of a sudden? Ghost Shark took a deep breath and said loudly, Pain, please help me prevent the alliance of Kurigakure and Konoha villages. Pain turned his head and looked at him indifferently. Reason. Konoha has caused so much damage to Kurigakure village, and now Kurigakure village has to befriend Konoha. I don't agree. The ghost shark held its head up, like a shark, with a ferocious look. For the village, he always has an indelible feeling. In order to protect the village's intelligence, he even killed his own captain, Tsukazan Fubuki. Even if he was persecuted by Yagura, defected from Kurigakure village and became a wanted missing nin, he still misses the village. When Terumi Mei staged a coup d'état and he went to resist the opponent, his soft-hearted men showed mercy. He didn't want Kurigakure village to be controlled by Uchiha Madara again and become a cold tool. Terumi Mei, in his opinion, would be a good leader. Otherwise, it was in that kind of narrow tunnel leading to the forbidden area. With his strength, he performed a large-scale Suiton, water-style ninjutsu, enough to block Terumi Mei's group. Don't say kill, but block for a few minutes, absolutely no problem. But he only stopped some of the ninjas, pretending to let Terumi Mei and the others rush in. It's just that after Terumi Mei took office, it didn't go according to his ideas at all. How could that woman disregard the huge pain that Kurigakure had suffered in the past, and go to Konoha to beg for pity? He does not agree, so he wants to break the alliance. Pain looked at him, silent for a while, and then slowly said, I am willing to help you, but after this event, whether successful or not, you will completely abandon your bond with the village of Kurigakure and concentrate on doing things for Akatsuki. Dry 1. 6 Persimmon Ghost Shark nodded suddenly, thank you. You go down first, and I'll send you and me to stop this later. Ghost Shark left, and the tower was silent. Conan came out from behind and looked at Pain, at the corpse of Yahiko who had been his companion. Pain, what we need to do now is not to accumulate strength and develop in a low-key manner. Pain said without looking back, doing this for the Ghost Shark will not hinder our goal. We are developing and our opponents are recovering. Konoha and Sunagakure have cast aside their former feud, and if they are allowed to form an alliance with the village of Kurigakure, it will be difficult for us to do things in the future. Pain raised his head and looked at the weeping sky outside the tower. The reason, it doesn't matter. But like the Ghost Shark said, the pain you have suffered should not be forgotten. Once forgotten, people will forget everything they have suffered, and war will only come again after a short peace. The world should remember the pain and the suffering brought about by war. Chapter 257. Explosion is art. My father is really, our child is still so young, he sent us out on a mission. Sarutobi Aster looked at his wife Junkai tenderly and defended his father. This is also something that can't be helped. Defeating Sunagakure village and Kumogakure village, the strength of our village ninja has been recognized by many people. Now the number of tasks in the village has increased several times, and there are not enough manpower to send us out on the mission to meet and guard the 5th generation of Mizukage. This is the father's trust in us. His wife Junkai shrugged helplessly, still thinking about her son who was born. Suddenly, a violent explosion sounded. Sarutobi Aster put his wife behind him and shouted loudly, enemy attack, prepare for battle. However, all this seems to be a little too late. Boom, 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 large pieces of white clay fluttered, followed by countless explosions. The many ninjas of Konoha, screaming in agony, are constantly being bombed to pieces. Open black lens bracket Kaden, fire style, ash accumulation and burning close black lens bracket Aster opened his mouth and spit out, and a large area of gray mist gushed out, covering the nearby line of sight. Distance of the fog, 2 figures gradually appeared. One is young and unruly, the other is crawling on the ground and slowly moving forward. Both of them were wearing Yuhi cloud cloaks, and they were full of momentum. Aster 29 feet's pupils shrank. After years of combat experience, he knew that these two were powerful. Bidden Kiba, Aster quick hand seal. Kaden fire style, great fireball jutsu. Boom, large flames, combined with the previous gray fog, erupted into a stronger burning area. Everyone joins me to meet the enemy. Konoha ninjas who were still alive began to charge forward, covering the area with the help of flames, and attacking the enemy. Aster grabbed his wife's shoulder and took a deep breath. Junkai, go back to the village and report the situation here to your father. No but, Our son Konoha Maru is still waiting for you, I'll stay after the break. The woman who married into the Sarutobi family and changed her name to Sarutobi Koichi, trembled all over, and then ran wild when she bit Kiba's way. When the sea of fire is accompanied by gray mist, it burns to the front. The unruly young man laughed. Throw out a few pieces of clay in your hand, pinch it quickly, and turn it into a white bird. Wings fluttered and flew out. Like a moth to a fire, the white bird entered the sea of fire, and a violent explosion occurred immediately. The fluctuation of the explosion directly wiped out a large sea of fire. Deidara, be quiet. Sasori of the red sand, who was crawling on the ground, said in dissatisfaction. The young man called Deidara pouted, if it's any smaller, everyone will run away. Forget it, I'll leave it to you, the woman who ran away, I'll kill her. Sasori of the red sand said angrily, go ahead, here, you will only get in the way. Humph. A ball of clay was thrown out and turned into a big white bird. Deidara stepped on the bird's back, and chased into the distance. Sarutobi Aster wanted to stop him, but several puppets stood in front of them. Puppet technique. You are from Sunagakur village. Aster looked ugly, as Sunagakur village treacherous again. Sasori of the red sand, tone did not fluctuate, the dying people, why should they know so much? Fei Liuhu's righteous hand is 1,000 copies. Fei Liuhu's left arm device suddenly pops out something similar to a cannon. On top of it, a cylinder filled with countless poisonous needles was inserted. Sasori of the red sand gently moves, countless poisons. Geti flew towards the Konoha ninja. Kisame Hoshigaki is standing on a giant tree with a large sword on his back. Him is another young man wearing a Yuhi cloud cloak, with a dense black iron Jinchuriki column on his face. Aware of the sight of the ghost shark looking over, young Bing said, don't look at me, I am enough to kill the people of Kurigakure village. Ghost Shark shook his head, the purpose of this trip is not to kill, but to stop Terumi-Mei. Didn't Pain tell you clearly before he set off? I am Pain. Ghost Shark frowned, what does this mean? But before he had time to think about it, the big blue bird flew over, screeching a few times. Calling himself Pain said, come on. Ghost Shark's expression was shocked, and his eyes fell to the place thousands of meters away from the giant tree. There, the Kurigakure mission is rapidly approaching. Take me to see Lord Hokage, fast. Sarutobi Koichi said weakly, and the face of the ninja guarding the gate changed greatly. You are. Quick, it's too late. Some people recognized Sarutobi's identity. After all, she is also the daughter-in-law of the third generation of Hokage. Some people specially took Sarutobi Kodopan to drive into the village, and the rest were on full alert. Sarutobi arrived at the Kodo pond just now. He was covered in injuries, and even one hand was missing. There must be enemies in pursuit. Whoa, whoa, in the shock of the Konoha ninja, a large white bird broke through the Konoha wall and flew over the village. Seeing this scene, Konoha ninjas ran out one after another, trying to attack the enemy standing on the big white bird. However, the big birds are at high altitude and can't attack at all, unless they can fly. Is this the old guy in Onoki, the feared Konoha village? Deidara grinned, since today is here, why should I leave some good memories for Konoha? Art is an explosion. Countless pieces of clay fell off his palms and flew to Konoha village. In Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen's face changed slightly, and just as he rushed out of the room, he saw Sarutobi's Kodo pond, which was sent to the dying. Father, someone attacked us. The enemy is. After all, the words were not finished. After seeing the father-in-law Sarutobi Hiruzen, the tone in Sarutobi Koike's heart suddenly weakened. She is dead. Sarutobi Hiruzen's trembling hands saw his daughter-in-law die in front of her eyes. However, he didn't have time to grieve, and the sound of an explosion from the village made him suddenly raise his head. Almost the moment he saw the figure in the sky, he spit out a word with hatred. Akatsuki. Sarutobi Hiruzen jumped directly to the rooftop, clapping his palms on the ground. The art of psychic. Boom. The huge ape demon was summoned directly. Become a King Kong Rui. The ape demon instantly transformed into a big iron rod. Sarutobi Hiruzen held it directly, pointed the tip of the iron rod, aimed at the big white bird in the air, and shouted loudly. Long. Shoo. The iron rod became longer in an instant, blinking, and approached the big white bird in the air. Deidara's face changed slightly, and he manipulated the big bird to fly away. However, this bird is only made of clay, and it is not flexible enough to move and dodge at all. Only had time to avoid an inch, the wings were interrupted by the elongated King Kong Rui stick. Deidara was shaking, looking at the old man 320 on the rooftop in the distance, and blurted out. Shinobu. Sarutobi Hiruzen. 3 generations didn't talk to him at all, and the person who killed his daughter-in-law must be this person. According to Jiraiya's travels abroad, the information sent back. Wearing this Yuhi black dress, embroidered with the Yuhi cloud mark, is an organization called Akatsuki. Orochimaru also joined it. I didn't pay much attention to it before, but I didn't expect it to be so daring to deal with Konoha. Futon, wind style, vacuum sphere. Swish, swish, swish. For countless months, the Kiba wind blade flew out, only to hit Deidara in the sky. Sarutobi Hiruzen is known as Dr. Ninja. He is familiar with the 5 ninjutsu, and he is just a futon wind style ninjutsu. Seeing this, Deidara bit Kiba. Unless you want to die here, you can't stay here for a long time. Adieu. He threw a large lump of clay and flew towards the center of Konoha village. And he turned and ran. Sarutobi Hiruzen stared hard at the direction he was going, but could only fly towards the place where the cloud of clay was flying. This thing, but it will explode. I can't let the village suffer from the explosion, I must stop it. Deidara controlled the white bird and ran out of the village, repairing its wings by the way. HMPH, the old guy is the same as Onoki's house fire, and he still has a few hands. Today is the time to go sightseeing, and next time you come, Konoha village will be bombed. I have this big bird soaring in the sky, and no one can catch up. Deidara laughed, as if mocking Konoha no one. However, the next moment, his expression changed. A big black and yellow hand that covers the sky and covers the sun, grabbed it from below. Recommend a book to a friend, The Strongest Sleeping Monk in Mysterious Fantasy. If you are interested, you can go to Feilu to remind you. Read 3 Things collection of things, push to see the latest chapter. Baidu search 99 playmates to find 99 novels and LT. Chapter 258. Glazed Sky Curtain. Rumbling. The sky trembled, where the big hand of Xuanwang passed, Shirakumo collapsed, and the void trembled. That hand seems to be able to pick up the stars and take the moon. As early as when Deidara broke into Konoha arrogantly, countless ninjas in the village found it and ran out. Just because Deidara is flying in the air and can't attack, so he can only guard the village with hatred. The release of the 3 generations of Hokage is exciting. Of Hokage-sama, it was almost a single attack that forced the enemy to retreat. It's just a pity that I can't keep that person. However, seeing the big black and yellow hand, the Konoha ninja burst into a commotion. It's Lord Gongyi. Master Gongyi has taken action. Do you really think I'm nobody in Konoha? Cats and dogs dare to attack, Lord Gongyi will definitely kill him here. ... Deidara looked at this scene in horror. He wanted to escape. However, I only felt that the sky around me seemed to be blocked. No matter how you control it, you can't escape the coverage of that big hand. I can't think about escaping anymore, I must defeat this ninjutsu. Deidara bit Kiba, vomited in her mouth, and a large lump of clay appeared. His hands were quickly squeezed together, and for a moment, a white dragon roared out. Dragon. The white giant dragon Zhang Kiba danced his claws and rushed towards his closed hands. Facing this dragon, Zanhuang's big hand suddenly doubled in size and grabbed the dragon's neck fiercely. Blast! Didera folded her hands together, looked stern, and shouted. Boom! The deafening sound resounded through the sky. Like thunder, a huge explosion sounded, and a thunderbolt exploded in the clear sky. After the violent explosion, the big black and yellow hand became shattered. Didera was overjoyed. Good chance, rush out. Whoosh! The white bird under your feet accelerated and fled outside the village. However, the next moment, his face became extremely ugly. The huge palm that had just been blown up recovered as before at a speed visible to the naked eye, and grabbed towards him at a faster speed. Who is the enemy? This ninjutsu, why is it so difficult to crack? Didera looked grim, and for some reason he regretted it and chased into the village of Konoha. However, he is not one to sit still. Although he cannot see the enemy attacking him, he has other means. Garuda. A ball of clay was thrown from the air and flew towards the big hand. In the air, the white clay expands continuously, transforming into a doll exactly like Didera in the blink of an eye. The body is huge, like a giant, standing in the sky. Didera said fiercely, "My puppet contains extremely small clay spiders that are invisible to the naked eye, and when the puppet explodes, these will be released. Clay spiders are scattered in the air in a certain range. Within the range, the organism that sucks the clay spider into the body is equivalent to setting a bomb all over the body, and finally through countless small explosions, the entire organism can be gradually destroyed from the inside out to achieve the effect of complete destruction." Quote. Although I don't know who you are, you must be around here. I'm going to blow you up alive. Your hands together, and a magic seal is formed. Didera is about to detonate the doll. But the next moment, his eyes widened. A huge Jinchuriki column rose from the ground, blocking directly in front of Garuda. Surrounded by thunder and lightning on the Jinchuriki column, it emits terrifying thunder and lightning. Countless arcs of lightning stretched out, directly binding Garuda. Under the paralysis of lightning, he was unable to detonate Garuda. Stay. Voice resounded through the sky, elegant and accommodating, full of irresistible majesty. Zanhuang's big hands finally closed and grabbed it directly. Ah! Didera's whole body was in unbearable pain, and a huge squeezing force came from his big hands, almost crushing him into a fleshy pulp. It's impossible to catch me alive. Didera's face turned fierce, and she swallowed a mouthful of clay desperately. Didera's body swelled suddenly. Self-destruct. Haha, although I didn't see you, my explosion can cover a radius of 10 kilometers. You are dead. Kacha. Xuanwang's big hand squeezed fiercely, and Didera's body shattered. However, in the palm of the hand, a black sphere, flashing with a deep black, whirled. In that blackness, there is a terrifying aura. Sarutobi Hiruzen had already caught up not far away, and when he saw this scene, his face changed greatly. With a radius of 10 kilometers, the village of Konoha is not far away, isn't it? Boom! The black sphere is lightly shattered. At the moment of shattering, endless white light burst out of the shell and illuminated the whole world. The next moment, a powerful explosion shock wave swept out from the place where Didera died. The dazzling white light makes it impossible to see directly. The sense of danger from the instinct of the body forced countless ninjas to tremble. It seems that the next moment, they will die under this explosion. Just when countless Konoha ninjas were stunned and at a loss, standing there waiting to die. Figure flew into the air below the center of the explosion. Om! A strange voice sounded, and in the shocked eyes of countless people, a crystal blue water curtain stretched out. The entire Konoha village. Gong Yi face. There is no wave in the ancient well, sage art chakra surging out, constantly pouring into the blue water curtain. The explosion shock wave caused by Didera's self-destruction rushed to the water curtain, blasting ripples. However, it has not affected both inside and outside of Konoha village. Not only that, but it seems that even the sound can't get in. Heaven and earth, there is silence. Only the mountains and forests a few kilometers outside the village of Konoha are constantly destroyed and turned into nothingness. This scene, like a silent movie, was played out quietly. A ninja curiously stretched out his hand to touch the blue water curtain on the edge, but just by touching it, the huge shock force recoiled at him. He touched vomited blood and flew out. Everyone, don't touch the water curtain. Sarutobi Hiruzen gave the order immediately, then he swallowed and walked under Gong Yi. What kind of ninjutsu is this? Gong Yi glanced at him and said calmly, this technique is called the colored glass sky curtain. When the white light dissipated, the aftermath of the explosion completely stopped, and the sun was projected down. It shines on the blue water curtain, emitting a colorful light, like a rainbow, and like a glass, dazzling. Sarutobi Hiruzen chewed on the name, only to feel it was worthy of the name. This water curtain, like a sky curtain, directly protected the Konoha village that was about to be destroyed. Even a brick or a tile was damaged. If it wasn't for this ninjutsu, then the 10-kilometer mountain range that was destroyed outside Konoha village would be the fate of Konoha village at this time. It really is a ninjutsu that destroys the world. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed and felt a little more awe of Akatsuki in his heart. With such an organization, just dispatching a ninja at will, can actually achieve this level. His own disciple, Orochimaru, known as Sanin, is only one of them. Can't imagine who else is inside. But, Sarutobi Hiruzen watched Gong Yi's back, can resist such a devastating self-destruction. Gong Yi's strength, and how terrifying it is. Gong Yi watched all this with satisfaction. The Kurigakure village Sweden water-style ninjutsu given to him keeps reading, learning, familiarizing, master. Finally, it is integrated. Immediately, inspiration is born. The skills of ruling all the laws are touched. One of the characteristics is that it can evolve into all kinds of techniques. After a period of time that is not too long or not too short, Gong Yi deduced and developed this Sweden water-style ninjutsu. The level has reached the level. No matter. It is the difficulty of learning, or the power, and the coverage area. Especially under the blessing of Sage Mode, its defense strength and coverage area will be expanded countless times. Able to resist Deidara's ultimate ninjutsu self-destruction is enough to explain everything. When everything is calm, Konoha village remains the same. Countless Konoha villagers walked out of the house and came to the street. Their eyes fell on a large forest destroyed by the explosion in the distance, and their expressions were horrified. However, when they saw the white figure standing in the sky, like an immortal, they could not help but feel the blood in their hearts. In our village, there is a strong person like the good Lord Gong Yi, and there is nothing to fear. Long live, Lord Gong Yi. Long live, Lord Gong Yi. Long live, Lord Gong Yi. ... The sound of the mountain and tsunami sounded, and all the Konoha villagers were cheering for Gong Yi in reverence. Gong Yi turned around, smiled slightly, and flew in the air like a fairy, looking at the villagers. It's okay, go back and do your own thing. After he finished speaking, there was another round of cheers, many of which were sincere thanks to Gong Yi. Gong Yi smiled and landed suddenly beside Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at him with a complicated expression. You saved the village again. It's nothing, I should do it. Gong Yi said lightly, but his eyes were looking into the distance. Akatsuki, let's do it. Sarutobi Hiruzen hummed. For Akatsuki, they, Konoha executives, they are all tacitly aware of it, but they don't take it to heart. Now that Akatsuki has made a move, he can't ignore the opponent in the future. But the next moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen's face changed drastically. Gong Yi, Akatsuki shot, attacked and killed Konoha's team to greet the Kurigakure mission. I am afraid the situation has changed. Gong Yi nodded, and his body rose into the air. I'll be back when I go. Chapter 259. Clap Lala. The sound of the waves crashing on the shore was deafening, and violent currents were drawn out from the depths of the earth. This is the world of water, like a flood destroying the world. Kisame Hoshigaki danced with his hands dazzlingly with his big sword shark muscle in front of him, and performed one after another of Suiten, water-style ninjutsu. Opposite him, it is the Kurigakure mission. Terumi Mei confronts him without fear, and when it comes to Suiten, water-style ninjutsu, she, the Mizukage, considers herself to be no weaker than anyone. However, after fighting for a while, my heart kept sinking. Suiten, water-style ninjutsu of the ghost shark is extremely exquisite. And the amount of chakra, like a tailed beast, is endless. Any Suiten, water-style ninjutsu from his hands will almost double the power. Strong person can be called the top ranks of the ninja world. However, Kisame Hoshigaki was forced to betray the village by the fourth generation of Mizukage Yagura and cannot be used by the village of Kurigakure. Terumi Mei secretly hated, but also knew that now was not the time for remorse. Chojuro, the official who led the protection of the land of water, Kisame Hoshigaki asked me to deal with it. Yes, Mizukage-sama. A young man with a strange blade on his back looked solemn and treated with vigilance. He is a new generation of ninja swords with 7 people, and the owner of the double knife flounder, Chenjiro. In terms of seniority, Chenjiro is actually with Kisame Hoshigaki, and another Momochi who betrayed the village. Same generation. New ninja sword owners after the death of the previous ninja sword 7 people and 7 people. However, the seniority is the same, but the strength is very different. The strength of Kisame Hoshigaki, even when the 3rd generation of Mizukage was in power, has the name of a genius. Now that many years have passed, its strength is beyond people's imagination. As only about 10 years old now, it was only with talent that Terumi Mei gave him the flounder, one of the 7 ninja swords. However, talent is always just talent, and it takes time to transform into hard power. With his current means, he couldn't interfere in the battle between Mizukage-sama and Kisame Hoshigaki. Bang tong. 320 water droplet with a thickness of 5 meters rushed out. Terumi Mei hid behind, quickly approached Kisame Hoshigaki, opened his mouth and spit. Yoden, lava style, the magic of dissolving monsters. A large amount of corrosive liquid like magma surged out, forcing Kisame Hoshigaki, who was lurking in Wang Yangli, to keep retreating. Kisame Hoshigaki, you were a member of the village, why did you attack us? Terumi Mei was furious and kept throwing all kinds of ninjutsu in her hands. Kisame Hoshigaki slaps both hands into the water, and instantly uses chakra to create 100 shark-shaped water bombs, which continuously attack Terumi Mei. He said indifferently, because I used to be a member of the village, I don't want to see you go to Konoha and wag your tail for mercy. S.A. shame for Kurigakure to do this. Bastard, you don't know anything. Terumi Mei bites Kiba and grabs it with Yoko, and a large water stream rushes in. Throwing it forward, the current formed a water dragon, roaring at the sharks. The huge roar caused more than 1,000 sharks to shatter inch by inch. Suiten, water style, water dragon bite. HMPH, I don't understand, but should the pain in the village be forgotten? Kisame Hoshigaki pulled out the big sword and slashed it in the air. Wang Yang was separated for it, a giant shark, riding the wind and waves, rushed to the water dragon desperately. Geniuses of the Kurigakure village. After many years, one of them defected from the village and trained outside the village and became the backbone of Akatsuki. The strength of the 2 is outstanding. Woman has 2 major Kekkei Genkei, Suiten, water style, ninjutsu proficient. The man has a terrifying and unparalleled amount of chakra, comparable to a tailed beast, and he uses ninjutsu to sweep around. Of ninjutsu are used in their hands, the power is unparalleled, almost weaker, they will die. A lake. Waves crashed and the water burst. Ghost shark, your speed is too slow. An indifferent voice sounded in the distance. Kisame Hoshigaki turned a deaf ear, and continued to attack Terumi Mei. Terumi Mei's face changed slightly. From the beginning of the battle, she noticed that there was a long-haired man wearing the same clothes as the ghost shark standing not far away. Man is very strange, with some black iron jinchuriki column stuck in his face, his expression is cold. Terumi-Mei didn't dare to be careless at all, and in the process of fighting the ghost shark, she even set aside a bit of attention to guard against that person. Terumi-Mei cheered up when she heard the other person speak. Just when she was preparing for the opponent's use, what kind of forbearance, her pupils could not help shrinking. The art of psychic. Phew, a big gray bird, with outstretched wings, flew out from under the clouds, covering the sky and the sun. Boom, the earth trembled. A black rhino, with its hind hooves digging into the soil, panting heavily, its eyes like bandages looking at Terumi-Mei. The next moment, it will launch an impact. After the big bird and the rhino, it is not over yet. A yuhi-colored giant dog stepped on the water and ran frantically. The smell of sulfur came out from the hot air exhaled from the giant dog's nose. How is it possible? Terumi-Mei can't believe, how can one person summon 3 psychic beasts? Ghost shark, let me help you. Kill that woman. Long-haired Pain gave orders indifferently, as if killing a Mizukage was as simple as pinching an ant to him. The 3 psychic beasts attacked at the same time. Terumi-Mei's silver kiba clenched her teeth. Today, even if I die here, I will also kill the traitor Kisame Hoshigaki. Kisame Hoshigaki looked solemn. In his heart, he is missing Nin. But the 5th generation Mizukage Terumi-Mei, did he not betray the village? He bowed his head to the enemy. The two are not right or wrong, neither good nor evil. It's just where they stand that determines their angle. The next attack is a moment of life and death. Mizukage, Sama, I'll help you. The young boy rushed out with Flounder in his hand, and slashed directly at the yuhi-colored giant dog. Chakra was extremely sharp, and in almost an instant, he chopped the yuhi-colored giant dog into 2 pieces. However, in the shock of Changjuro, the yuhi-colored giant dog stood up again, and there was another head on his neck. Can't kill. I don't believe it. The blood fog of Flounder is pulled out. Countless light thorns flew out, bombarded the giant dog, and pierced the giant dog. But at the next moment, the giant dog split into several heads. It really can't be killed. Changjuro was stunned, he has never encountered such a situation. Just when he had no masters, Terumi-Mei put a foot on him. Ow! Escape with Chojuro and a few adults. Ching held a Byakugan and said anxiously, but what about you, Mizukage, Sama? Terumi-Mei licked Yuhirin's lips and looked at everything contemptuously. If you want to kill Mizukage, it's not that simple. Be prepared to pay the price of your life first. Kisame Hoshigaki's heart moved, and an inexplicable sense of danger came. Terumi-Mei's gaze shifted from the ghost shark to the 3 attacking psychic beasts, and smiled charmingly. With her hands pressed in the water, from her body, the mist fills frantically. Its high temperature is enough to melt everything. Its speed spreads the sky and the earth. Fudan, vapor style, skillful fog boils the sea. A large amount of fog is used, and the Kurigakure assassination technique is used, but it also incorporates the characteristics of Fudan, vapor style. The mist was constantly boiling. Not only that, Terumi-Mei is biting kiba, completely ignoring the loss of chakra, and frantically refining cell activity. He opened his mouth and spit, and the turbulent magma was mixed in it. Yoden, lava style, is flowing through the ground. Boom! The earth trembled, and under the lake, the lava spewed out, burning everything. After releasing these 2 ninjas, Terumi-Mei turned pale and smiled miserably. There was only so much she could do. I hope Ao and Changjuro can escape alive. The delicate body, slowly sinking from the lake, without any chakra, she will be buried here. Kisame Hoshigaki retreated frantically, turned into a shark, and kept moving in the lake. Behind him, a large fog ignited the lake with the momentum of burning the sky and boiling the sea. Turbulent magma spewed out from the ground, forming a fire Jinchuriki column, covering a radius of 10 miles. This woman, She is crazy. Kisame Hoshigaki admitted that he underestimated Terumi Mei. How could it be so simple to be the shadow of a village? In a desperate situation, everyone has the means to perish together. I can't die, I have to live. But Terumi Mei is desperate to launch two Kekkei Genkei at the same time. How could it be possible for him to escape so easily? Even Pain, not far away, is within the attack range. The endless magma enveloped the long-haired Pain. The next moment, Terumi Mei will die, the ghost shark will die, and even the long-haired Pain can't escape the endless lava. Om! A black Yuhi Uzumaki emerges from the void. Two figures appeared in the middle of the lake. The leader is wearing a Yuhi cloud cloak, with a handsome appearance and short orange hair. Eyes swept away, facing the blow of death, his body moved without a wave. Shinra Tensai Almighty Push sign. Bang! The magma poured into the ground. The boiling mist rolled back and disappeared in an instant. Terumi Mei, who had not yet sunk to the bottom of the lake, smiled miserably. Did it fail? Boom! A big black hand covered the sky and the sun, and the time was stuck just after the release of the Shinra Tensai Almighty Push sign. The masked man standing behind the short orange-haired youth changed greatly. Pain, back. Pain sucked with one hand, and the ghost shark fell into his hand. Masked man took Pain and the ghost shark, his body stepped into the void, disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was already standing beside another long-haired Pain. However, for all this, the big Xuanwang hand turned a blind eye and continued to grab down the lake. Boom! The monstrous waves were expelled. Zanhuang grabbed with a big hand, as if he had caught something, and then slowly retracted into the air. Under the blue sky Shirakumo, Gong Yi, like a fairy, overlooks everything. Behind him, there is Terumi Mei, who is all wet and has a delicate body. Gong Yi stood in front of Terumi Mei, keeping those all eyes on him. The corners of his mouth twitched, and he opened his mouth. Pain. Chapter 260. Gong Yi's Pain. If there is no accident, this handsome young man with short orange hair is Yahiko's corpse. Gong Yi once had a relationship with the original Akatsuki trio, and he will never forget each other's appearance. Facing Gong Yi calling out his name directly, Pain stepped forward. Looking from a distance, Rinnegan, like a bandage, is indifferent and ruthless. Deep Blue Devil, Gong Yi. Gong Yi's mouth rose. No Pain, I should call you Yahiko, or Nagato. Pain's expression changed slightly. How do you know? I know that. It doesn't matter, it matters that you shouldn't shoot Konoha. Gong Yi overlooks the four people below. 4. Masked Man, Heavenly Path Pain, the animal Pain who is good at psychics, and the panting Kisame Hoshigaki. Wow! A black robe was thrown behind and fell on Terumi Mei's wet body, completely covering up the looming spring light. Terumi Mei bit her lip and looked at the back of the man in front of her with mixed emotions. Just when he thought he was going to die, he suddenly appeared and saved him. Black robe, Terumi Mei said softly, be careful, Kisame Hoshigaki Suiten, water style, is extremely strong in ninjutsu. That long-haired man is good at psychics and can summon more than one psychic beast. Also, Terumi Mei's eyes fell on the masked man's expression, the Sharingan exuding evil, which was terrifying. That masked man is from the Uchiha family, good at. Before she could finish her words, she felt that her body was pulling away from Gong Yi. Take care of yourself. Gong Yi used Sage Art Chakra to send Terumi Mei to a hilltop, and his eyes fell on the four people below again. Since the shot is made, there will be a price to face the wrath of the devil. Today, you should stay here. When the words fell, there was almost no gap. Zanhuang's big hand suppressed the heaven and the earth, and it was photographed with a bang. Senpo, Sage Art is the palm of the sky. The power of one palm suppresses all things, blocks space, and makes people unavoidable. However, facing this scene, Pain, who was standing in front of the three people, snorted coldly. Don't be ashamed. Shinra Tensai Almighty Push Jung. Bang! Xuanwang's big hand flew back upside down. Still in the air, it collapsed into pieces of mud. Not only that, Pain stretched out his right hand and pulled hard. Bansho Tenon, universal pull. Gong Yi raised his brows, but felt that his body was completely out of control, and flew towards the place where Pain was on the ground. Kisame Hoshigaki watched in shock as the two fought, especially shocked by Pain's tactics. This is the power of Rinnegan. Repel all ninjutsu. Control gravity. Even powerful beings like the dark blue demon are involuntarily drawn in. If he took the opportunity to shoot at this time, would he have the opportunity to kill Gong Yi who flew over? He held back. Although he had the intention to fight Gong Yi, it was definitely not the time to take advantage of others. Pain looked indifferent. A short black stick suddenly stretched out, and the tip of the short stick was extremely sharp. I'm going to kill you today, boring guy. Gong Yi was sucked directly by Pain, and the sharp black stick stabbed directly. The next moment, it will pierce his chest. However, in the face of this attack, he showed his face, and his hand was golden, and he grabbed it directly. Black short stick was pinched by him, and he pulled it hard. Click. How come? Pain didn't have time to be surprised. Gong Yi's next attack came. Senpo, Sage Art White Shock. Endless light fills the world, no matter. Was Rinnegan or the masked man Sharingan, they were both stimulated and pushed directly. Not only that, but there were tears in their eyes. Eyes that see more clearly will only suffer more trauma when exposed to strong light. Gong Yi snorted coldly and showed his body. Behind him, 99 long swords flew out, one hovered, and stabbed the four straight from all directions. He wants to catch these four people in one net. However, there was a loud shout from the place where the sword light was wrapped, and all the long swords flew out. Shinra Tensai, Almighty Push, sign. Bang! Gong Yi retreated, suspended in the air, with a gloomy expression. Is this the power of Rinnegan? Pain took a breath. Since he appeared to now, he has used the Shinra Tensai, Almighty Push, sign 3 times in a row. No matter what. Was the wide area attack that deflected Terumi Mei and perished, or Gong Yi's black and yellow hand just now, it cost him a lot of chakra. Just now, the 99 Jin Dun long swords were bounced off in one breath, and he almost fell into danger. Suddenly raising his head, Pain looked cold. How much do you know about me? Gong Yi shook his head. After all, it's not your eyes that can't exert the purest power. Humph. Pain was puzzled, but immediately said, if I hadn't come out in a hurry, I would have killed you today. The words fall, the masked man tacitly uses time-space ninjutsu, and with the 4 of them, he will break through the air. If you want to go, how can it be so easy? Gong Yi's face. Stern, with a quick hand seal with both hands. Senpo, Sage Art Inorganic Reincarnation. Several arms stretched out from the ground and directly grabbed the feet of the 4 of them. The ghost shark's big sword shark muscle crossed, and the arm was cut off. The masked man's body was blurred, avoiding the arm transformed by the mud. Pain bites Kiba to release the Shinra Tensai, Almighty Push, sign again, flicking the hand that grabbed his foot. 3 of them quickly broke free, and were led away by the masked man. However, the rest of the long-haired Pain was not so lucky. He had no means to break free from the arm reincarnated from the inorganic, and was directly caught. However, he is not someone who just sits still. With a single move, a panda-like psychic beast stands in front of him. Not only that, but he said fiercely, kill him. Phew. The gray giant bird flapped its wings and pecked Gong Yi with its long beak. Moo. The black rhino slammed with 4 hooves. Beside the rhinoceros, the yuhi-colored multi-headed giant dog roared and grinned and bit Kiba. Be careful, that giant dog can't be killed. And the people from the Kurigakure mission have returned and are standing beside Terumi Mei on the hilltop. While guarding them, Mizukage-sama was watching the battle nervously. I was pleasantly surprised when I saw Gong Yi overpowering the 4 people and forcing the 3 people away. However, Chanjuro was still terrified of this ninja who used spirituality to master his skills. Terumi Mei shook her head and sighed. Chanjuro, don't worry, that man is stronger than you think. His methods. In the void, a long black spear appeared slowly and fast, and its length reached 5 meters. The black light of the spear tip flickered, and its sharpness was incomparable. The spear flew out and shot at the gray giant bird. Rumble. A giant Jinchuriki column, rising out of the ground, soaring into the sky. Endless lightning, transformed into chains, wrapped directly around the black rhino. Gong Yi opened his mouth and spit out a sea of fire, which directly surrounded the rushing hellhounds. Finally, a huge golden long sword smashed to the ground. Gong Yi held the hilt in both hands and slammed into the distance to be reincarnated by inorganic pain. The beast bound by his arm, chopped off. Black and white panda patted its chest and roared in front of it. However, the next moment, golden light flashed. The earth was in a mess, and a ravine several hundred meters stretched out. Black and white panda is split in half. Pain, the beast behind him, was also split in half and died in a daze. All of this is complicated to say, but it happens at the same time between the light and the flint. Chanjuro stared at this scene in a daze, with his mouth wide open, stunned. Turned on Byakugan swallowed his saliva. Unbelievable. Just now he was fully focused and could see clearly. But it was precisely because he could see clearly that he terrified Gong Yi's method. How could he release so many ninjutsu at the same time, and he doesn't need a hand seal. Terumi Mei squeezed her palms tightly, and a look of determination appeared on her pale face. This kind of existence, do you still want to be an enemy of him? Is Kurigakure village qualified to be an enemy of him?